right, welcome everybody. We are live, and everything seems to be back to normal now. I'm Randall Thor 19, the man with the million. This is Xbox 2 episode, I don't know, 250 something. I'm not really sure off the top of my head what it is. But the
54.
prodigal son has returned from his vacation for the last 2 weeks in Hawaii. You know, when Jez goes on vacation, stuff happens. And that's certainly the case when this time as well. But let's give a big round of applause and a welcome back to Mr. Jez Corden, executive editor, managing editor, whatever your title is these days. I know it seems to change every single month of Windows Central. He's here. What's going on, buddy? No, there's the round of applause. Let's get some golf claps.
That's a round of applause. Why do I get a round of applause for going on vacation?
I mean, you get a round of applause for coming back and still wanting to do the podcast instead of,
yeah, of course.
You know, some people come back and be like, no, I don't want to do this stuff anymore. Find a new co-host.
I mean, I actually took a mic with me to Hawaii and thought we could do the podcast, but
no, don't bother.
Yeah. Well,
you're on vacation. I don't want your girlfriend to hate me more than she already does because I ruined your Friday nights for the past 7 years.
Well, it's also like the time zone difference. I honestly didn't realize how far out into the sea Hawaii is. Like it's quite far away. So it would have been a weird, I think it would have been really early in the morning for me to have done that, and there was no way I'd able to maintain a sleep cycle there any better than I can now. But yes, I'm back. Did you miss me? Did everyone miss me? Hello, everyone. Thanks for.
I mean, we got people in chat saying, like Kitu saying, "Never go on vacation ever again." And Game Adaptation Newscast says, "We missed you, Jezzy."
Oh, bless yous.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be upfront. I don't think I'll ever go on a vacation that long ever again. That's the longest vacation I've ever taken. And by the end of it, I was so ready to just come back home.
You're done. You're just like, I'm done. I want to go back. I want to go back to Germany and the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're rubbing shoulders with us Americans. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is part of the problem. Americans. But no, it was just my girlfriend's like. She really likes doing things, man.
Oh yeah, the dreaded I want to do stuff.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, I've got all these activities planned." She got this app which like lets you book tours and events and activities and things to do, and I'm like, "Man, I just want to chill." And it was super hard work. And now I feel like I need a vacation from the vacation, Which sounds like a weird thing to complain about, but it was intense, man. And she went shark cage diving, dude.
Oh, really? She was out there with the sharks.
So we went on a boat with this company, with a cage, dude. And she was gonna, jump in the water with these sharks, and they were gonna attract the sharks to the boat and all this stuff. And I was like, there ain't no way I'm getting in the sea with a shark? No way. So you do you. I will stay on the boat. Big mistake.
Yeah.
Big fucking mistake. This was I've never been on a boat that small, and we're really far out to sea. The ocean waves, very choppy.
Uh-huh.
I've had sepsis when I was a kid, and I've had really bad vomiting episodes from being drunk. Mixing my drinks and drinking whiskey and Jaeger bombs and all that stuff. On that boat, I've never been so sick in my entire life. I was sick non-stop for about 30 minutes, seasick, into the fucking Pacific Ocean. And all these fucking fish were swimming up and eating my vomit. Man.
Okay.
So I fed the fish. They were happy to eat the vomit. And I was in agony by the end of it. And like the people on the boat, they were like, "Oh yeah, this happens. Don't worry about it. You'll be all right." My girlfriend's there chilling with the sharks, and I'm just like, I've just been so ill. And like even a week, it's been like over a week now. My muscles in my like torso are still fucked from this. So like after that, whole boat thing, I was like, I'm done now. I'm staying in bed. I'm done. It was the worst, man. Justin Bieber's chat says the circle of life. Yeah. I felt like like them birds when they like feed their chicks by
Mm-hmm.
chucking up the food they've eaten. It was like that. It was like that. I was feeding the fish. It was fucking surreal, man. Being on a boat in the Pacific Ocean, sharks on one side of the boat, and then all these like weird little
What
tropical
kind of
fish swimming
sharks?
up on the other side. I can't remember what they were called now.
Great white sharks? Was he swimming with some great whites? Some
Nah,
tiger
they weren't
sharks?
that big. They were like, I don't know, maybe 5 feet long. They weren't tiger sharks. I can't remember the name of the sharks. They weren't that big. But they were still pretty like, they were fucking sharks, man.
Mm.
At the end of the day, they were still sharks. I was like, you are crazy, but she loved it, man. Like she really likes sharks.
Yeah.
So that was like a whole thing. But yeah, it was a cool thing to do. It was a really fun trip, and we pooled our savings together. My girlfriend graduated university, so it was like a big celebration kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
Because university was a nightmare because she had it during COVID, and Germany's lockdown process was really strict. So basically, it put a degree on hold for like 2 years, 3 years, something like that. So it's like it was a long time coming, man. So, yeah, I don't know. It was cool, man. It was a cool thing. But I did miss you all. I missed you guys. I missed the podcast.
I mean,
did
2
check
Fridays in a row.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I
yeah.
missed 2 Fridays in a row. I still managed to upload the audio version. I did it off my Legion Go. I took my Lenovo Legion Go.
Yep.
And I edited the podcast on that thing.
And then you ended up watching John Cena turn heel.
Yeah, and I watched the wrestling on the Legion Go. I played a ton of Hollow Knight on the Legion Go. I love it's a nifty little device, man. I really love that device. It really came in clutch. I ditched my Surface. I got rid of my Surface and switched to Legion Go as my travel laptop. So like, gaming, and because it's good enough for gaming, it's good enough for editing, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a good trip, but I'm glad to be home. I'm really glad, and I'm looking forward to getting caught with the Xbox news, because you're gonna have to debrief me.
If you were on vacation sometime later in the year or next year, you could have probably taken a third-party Xbox device with you instead of your Lenovo, Go. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Possibly.
Possibly, maybe.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
We have Didact who wants to know: did Jez propose?
No,
you figure we always kind of give you this crap about this. You've been with the girl for forever. Now you go on this extravagant vacation to Hawaii for 2 weeks. I mean,
yeah,
like sunset out the beach. You tell her to look at the water, and then you go drop down to one knee, and she looks back, and there's Jez with his long beard, his manscaped, shaped beard, with 4 XP in his left hand. He's ringing the right and being like, "Hey,
oh man,
will you spend the rest of your life with me?" Did that happen?
No.
Oh, okay, so just in my imagination, then, huh?
I actually have a plan for this. So I have a specific plan in mind for this. It wouldn't have been in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
But there is a specific place that we will need to go in order for this, and it's in Germany, not Hawaii. So
okay,
we'll see what happens. There is a plan.
There is a plan, he says. All right. Well, let's get some of these housekeeping out of the way. Thank you guys for joining us today on this beautiful Friday, and I want to also thank our sub guests, substitutions, our guest hosts that helped keep the show moving along while Jez was away. We had a couple weeks ago, we had both Cold Eastwood and Lord Cognito join to make sure that the Xbox 2 podcast could keep on rolling. And then last week we had the one and only Special Nick from Xbox Era. He even had demands. I don't know if you noticed, but he photoshopped himself into the thumbnail.
Oh, I did see that, yeah.
Yeah.
What a cheeky bastard.
I mean, I asked him, I was like, "Hey, Jez is gone. I need somebody that talks super slow and just rambles on about all the topics and stuff. And then he's like, "I'm your man. I'll be able to do that."
Man.
So he says, "I just have one request," and he sent me the thumbnail, and he's like, "I'm like, all right, we'll see how Jez feels about this." So
Nah, it's fine. I mean, shout out to all those guys for stepping in and keeping the show rolling. We've missed Xbox 2 Ultimate and Xbox 2 Plus One as well, fair bit this month, but do have some cool guests.
Yeah.
Last month, yeah. Do have some cool guests lined up to get back on track with that stuff. So watch this space.
Yes. So hit the like button, share this out, subscribe to the channel. You know the drill if you haven't done any of those things yet. But Jez, this week's episode, is sponsored by 4XP Gaming. The drink
4XP.
I got my hand on right now that's giving me my energy to do this 4-hour show. I'm rocking let's see, what am I rocking today? I'm rocking the legendary Blue Raspberry.
Oh, I'm quite partial to Grave Walker myself.
That sounds like something you would see in Diablo or something, like fight the boss. What's the boss's name? The Grave Walker. Yeah,
I was thinking the Undertaker more. Maybe it's just watching so much wrestling, but yes, as Rand said, Xbox 2 podcast is sponsored by 4xpgaming.com. The tasty drink for gamers everywhere. And I'm just pulling up my ad read now. So bear with me. 4XP podcast. XB2 podcast is sponsored. 4XP and XB2 are like kind of similar in branding, unified there. Maybe we should ask 4XP if we can have an XB2 flavor. That'd be quite tasty. But yeah, XB2 podcast is sponsored by 4XP Gaming, the refreshing drink designed for gamers by gamers. A group of friends had an epiphany during a marathon gaming session, armed with sugar-heavy sodas, and decided there must be a better way. It was then 4XP was born. 4XP beats the competition with its nutritional edge. 4XP is enriched with a carefully selected blend of vitamins designed with gamers in mind. Oh, I suppose if I'm doing this in American accent, I say vitamins, right? Because that's how you say vitamins, isn't it? Rand? Has fucking Rand gone and left me? Or have I disconnected? He's fucking left me, guys. Can you believe that? He left me in the middle of the fucking ad read. Have I disconnected? Someone tell me if I disconnected in chat right now. No, I can't have disconnected. I can see this shit. Yeah, Rand fucking left in the middle of the ad read. What a sneaky bastard. I wonder if he's had a phone call or some shit like that.
No, what's up?
Where did you go?
I had to check on something.
I had to check on something. What, you got a pizza in the oven or what?
No, family thing I had to check on.
Okay, family thing.
It's one of those things where I wasn't going to answer, but then they just kept on pinging my phone, and I'm like, God damn it, and I got to go check to see if it's there. I'm like, I'm busy listening to Jez do the ad read for 4XP Gaming. But 4XP apparently family members don't give a flying F about that. So
I always tell my family when I'm on podcast, I'm like, don't come in on podcasting. You need to put your foot down, Rand. But anyway,
I did. They kept on calling. I was like, I'll be like, I'm busy. I'll get back to you in a few hours. They're like, no. And I'm like, oh my lord.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, fair enough. Well, anyways, Rand, as I was saying, 4XP is enriched with a carefully selected blend of vitamins designed with gamers in mind. And I asked you, Rand, don't Americans say vitamin as vitamin?
It is.
Vitamin.
That's how the word is spelled and how we say it. Vitamin.
It's spelled vitamin, bro. Spelled vitamin. But anyway, I digress. 4XP includes many energizing ingredients, and I need some of that right now, like caffeine, taurine, and ginseng to boost alertness and focus, backed with health-promoting vitamins like B6, B9, B12, vitamin A, and vitamin E, all thought to promote health-positive effects like vision acuity, mood regulation, and overall cellular function. These ingredients are all delivered in lower quantities to allow for higher water consumption while aiming for maximum flavorful hydration. Drink more, enjoy more. 4XP rocks low caffeine to avoid giving you those jittery sensations, while also rocking only 43 calories per scoop. You can enjoy 4XP's flavor in greater quantities without worrying about caloric or caffeine overdose. 4XP is available today at 4xpgaming.com, boasting a variety of fantastic flavors for the low price of around 70 cents per drink. Only 70 cents. Thanks a ton to 4XP for sponsoring this podcast. So yeah, 4xpgaming.com. The drinks are fantastic. They come in a little powder. You put them in a shaker, shake them up, similar to a protein shake. And it just basically makes water tastier, while also giving you a bunch of vitamins, caffeine, a little bit of caffeine kick, and, boosting your alertness and things like that. I'm not someone who... I don't like drinking too much caffeine, specifically because of the jitters, right? So I don't drink coffee, I drink tea. But like one of the problems with tea, Ran, is I got to get my ass all the way downstairs, got to put the kettle on, got to sort out the tea bag, do all that kind of stuff. What if I'm feeling lazy, Rand?
What if you are? And I mean, lazy? Most of the times you are feeling lazy.
And yeah, most of the time. So, vitamins, all the vitamins in 4XP Gaming are sitting right there next to my desk. One sachet in a glass of water, and you're pretty much ready to go. But yeah, pretty awesome, man. Yeah. And they're sponsoring the show, so check them out if you can. They only ship to America, so if you're outside of America, you are out of luck. But hopefully they can expand to other regions.
Yeah, and I had
a
couple people of Canada who wanted to check it out, who love the energy drink stuff, but it's unfortunate for right now. But yeah, check it out. Links in the description. 4xpgaming.com. No codes or anything. So, because I've had people ask, like, is there a checkout code like XB2? It's like, nope. Just,
no codes.
Just check it out.
Just rock on up there.
See if you like it. But we also have the wonderful people of the Patreon, patreon.com/XB2, where you can join yourself and get access to a whole bunch of different perks, like early access to Xbox 2+1 or exclusive shows like Xbox 2 Ultimate, the exclusive question and answer thread and shoutouts and all those sort of things. You can go over to patreon.com/Xbox2 to join now if you want. But we also have a good shout out here for the Xbox 2 MVPs. So I'm going to give a nice shout out to all the people that helped make Xbox 2 go. We have Ethan Linhares. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. This is the first time I'm seeing this. Ethan Linhares, VA. D Big,
he's a new
Fluffy
member.
Bunny, Resin Force, iMike Zero, Tier, Shrapnel, Inner Machine, Just James 93, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, 09C Mine, James Wiseau, Trixar for Trey, Laser Wolf, Battered Haddock, Army Dude 52C, Foreign Object, RS Donks, Silas, James Moore, Fantasticals, Katriox, Bright Tundra 1, Discarded Caboose, Justin Duell, Frank Mariano, Sean Kramer, Peter Broking, Asa T and Madison, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Wagerman, Pat Rock, The Scarecrow 121, Darren Torpy, Briggs County, Prof JJJ, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. We appreciate it. And like Jez said, look for some announcements about upcoming Xbox 2+1s and stuff, because we definitely know we owe you guys some more things, because February was kind of a Jez was on vacation for basically half the month, so we really couldn't get anything going.
It was a month too.
But yes, Jez.
Yeah, we'll sort it out. We'll get back on track for March.
So, I mean, I guess before we get into stuff that's happened now, do you have any things you want to say about the stuff that happened while you were gone? Because it always happens when you go on vacation, man. Something leaks, something happens, big news. And
what happened?
Well, so let's see. Where do we even start? What's happened the past couple weeks? Forza Horizon 5 got announced for PlayStation with a date, April 29th.
Right, yeah.
Which we knew it was coming in spring. And even beyond that, it's dominating the PlayStation pre-order charts, I guess. And even though there was some pushback about pricing, because they're selling it for full price, $59.99 for the regular version and $100 for early access.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, I know, but there was a lot of commentary about how they can't do that and how they shouldn't do that and how the game's
Why
4 years old and that the price is just too much, and then it hits like
Get it on Game Pass.
number one on all the pre-order pages. So I guess
Get it on Game Pass, baby.
Yeah.
You want get an Xbox and get it on Game Pass for cheap. That's the entire point, isn't it? Oh man.
Yeah.
I like that commentary. It's kind of funny because it kind of underpins the strategy, doesn't it?
You
don't want to play full price? Get an Xbox and get it on Game Pass. That seems to be
or play it on
the
PC
logical
at Game Pass, I guess.
Yeah,
Or,
PC Game Pass.
I'm sure Forza Horizon
the-
5 has been cheap, been on sale a whole bunch of times in the last 4 years or 3.5 years
sure
or whatever it's been. So that was the thing. Another big thing, maybe the biggest thing. You did kind of take time out of your a holiday, I guess we'll call it. Fable got delayed to 2026.
Yes, I had that pre-written.
You know what's funny is because you had told me, what was it, like a month before that it was getting delayed?
Yeah, I had heard that.
Like you said that you were hearing things from people that was like, hey, it's getting delayed, or there's a possibility it's getting delayed, and I was like, of course. What? Of course it's getting delayed.
If you notice the timestamp on that article, it was published exactly the same time as the official announcement. Yeah, because I already knew it was happening. So I wasn't 100% that it was going to be delayed. But I asked around, and then it just became increasingly apparent that it was. So, were you shocked? Were you surprised about this news? Because personally, based on what I heard last year, it sounded like it was doing really well. But now I suppose there's been a lot of speculation as to why this delay has gone in, when their official line was, to give it the most breathing space possible.
To give it more, it needed more time, or to give it more time, which is contrary to what they said about Avowed, because the official reasoning for Avowed was they wanted to give our backlog a break, or whatever it was. That was their official reasoning. Whatever the real reasoning was, like they wanted to put it to a better strategic window, which ended up really not being the case, considering how successful Kingdom Come Deliverance was and Monster Hunter Wilds and stuff. So it was like, it probably should have launched in November, but it didn't. So definitely two different official communications about why things were delayed. And they're delaying it early in the year too, right? February. The game probably wasn't set to come out until the fall. So yeah, they're just
like one of the with Fable, it's like, there's been two, like, because obviously I got a bunch of DMs after publishing that article, and then like I got there was like two running themes in my DMs about this, and I didn't hear what you discussed about it with Carl and Corgan or Nick or whoever it was.
Would have been Nick.
Yeah, it would have been Nick, I suppose. But the two themes that were prevalent in my DMs were, is this delayed because of Grand Theft Auto? And the other one was, is this delayed because it's going to be day one at PlayStation?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys also shared such sentiments.
I mean, we talked about that, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned that I was told directly that it wasn't delayed to make sure that it was going to be on PlayStation day one. Like, that has nothing to do with it. Not to say that when it does come out next year, it won't be on PlayStation day one, but that they didn't delay it.
Wasn't the reason it was delayed.
That wasn't the reason it was delayed. I don't know. There's this whole thing about, like, what Nick said. A lot of people, last year, when they presented that trailer, and we saw it again for the second time in 2 years, and it ended with coming 2025. I remember Andy Robinson, I believe it was, over at VGC, tweeted that, who's kind of plugged into the UK gaming scene, he basically tweeted that was a really extreme optimistic projection, that he didn't think they'd make it. And, only a few months later, right, you know, 'cause they say in June, and, you know, 8 months later or whatever it is, yeah, they delay it to 2026. And then as soon as that happens, then you got everybody coming out of the woodworks, quote unquote insiders, talking about why it's been delayed. Now, it's funny I say that because I also just said Jez told me about it a month before. But if people ask me for proof, I literally have the DMs I could show if I wanted to. But suddenly it's like it's delayed, and then people are out there be like, oh, the game's not coming together well. It's not fun. Progression is bad. The game's in a rough spot, which, I mean, the game's delayed for a reason, so they probably think that it needs more time. Or, the one people kept on saying was, oh, it's tech issues or whatever, and it's like, okay, I mean, I'm sure there are legitimate reasons to delay it to make sure it's better. And you can even make the argument, with all the games Xbox is putting out this year, do they really need it this year? Or is it better to just be like, hey, give it the time it really needs? Because that game is expensive and really needs to show out whenever it does come out. So I don't think anybody was really surprised, because I don't think there was a lot of people that even really believed it last year when they said it was coming in 2025, that it was actually going to hit. And Xbox has kind of been known for delaying games. And you go back to this generation by itself. You go to 2020. Halo and Psychonauts 2 were delayed to 2021. And then in 2022, Starfield and Redfall were delayed to 2023.
That's true.
Forza Motorsport was pushed towards the beginning of the year to the end of the year. 2024, Avowed was pushed 3 months. Only 3 months, but it was pushed to 2025. And then here's 2025. Fable gets pushed to 2026. So Xbox does have a history of delaying stuff.
Do you think people have a perception that they don't delay stuff because games have released underbaked, like Redfall, even though it was delayed? It fell underbaked. And like you could even make the case.
But I would imagine, but I can't imagine what that game would look like if it wasn't delayed. Can you imagine what the product was when it came out after being delayed for 10 months? I can only imagine how awful that game looked and played if it was really coming out in 2022. So I think like delays are usually always for the better, because I think you do get a better game because of it.
Yeah, I am pro delay. You know, at the end of the day, if they're willing to spend a year's worth of extra money to up level a game, I mean, they could easily just ship it crap. And there's always that quote, and I don't even know if it's a real quote, but it's like
Miyamoto. The Miyamoto quote,
Miyamoto quote. If it's even real, like oftentimes these quotes ain't even real, but even if it's not real, it's true that, you know, a delayed game can be eventually good, but a
bad game is a bad game or whatever, right?
Rush game is bad forever, you know. So yeah, although I suppose in the age of live service, a bad launch can eventually be turned around, but maybe not so much for a single player.
I mean, you know this about even live service now. A bad launch, I don't know if it can be turned around anymore. Because I did see a couple articles, couple statistics where it was the lifespan of current live service games that, you know, get start up and then end. Obviously, they're not talking about recent successful ones like Marvel Rivals or whatever, but you go back to 2015 when Rainbow Six Siege came out and it was not good, and then they gave it the time, and then it became super popular, and it still is. But I mean, last year, a lot of live service games that had launched the previous year all kind of got canceled and ended. Ubisoft even shut down like X Defiant. It's just that market is so saturated for how many people are in it and how many top games there are, that I don't like if you put out a failure, I think publishers are unwilling to heavily invest in something because they just know that they're kind of screwed. If you don't launch amazingly with a lot of players and making a lot of money, then if you launch in a poor state, nobody's sticking around. So
I think like
publishers don't have this, like we're not. It's like we're not gonna chase good money after bad money to try to fix this when there's all these other games that are already succeeding. So it's like, yeah, no, it's over. Like
Yeah.
we're pulling the plug on it. I don't.
I mean,
So.
it's at the very least, it's increasingly rare that a developer or publisher will fight to redeem a game. I mean, there are some great examples of games that have had redemption arcs, like Cyberpunk. But what did it
Sure.
take for Cyberpunk to have a redemption arc? A Netflix TV show, you know,
A Netflix
That
TV
was
show, a huge update,
a
an
huge marketing
expansion, a
push.
great expansion that kind of all
Yeah,
tied it all in together. Yeah,
yeah, and like exponentially
but
increased
but to
risk,
be
you
fair
know,
though,
like to deliver that.
Cyberpunk also was a massive success when it came out, when it launched. I think it had something like 10 million pre-orders, and then how many?
Yeah,
Like, so it was already kind of a huge success. Where they were like, all right, this game already is a success. Now we just need to fix our reputation, because now our reputation is taking a beating.
it's a reputation.
So
Yeah.
it's like, okay,
I'll
now we
I'll
have
tell
to
you
spend the
something I know
money
about
to
Cyberpunk.
fix it, right?
Sorry, go on.
No, it's
Yeah,
just like
spend the money to fix it.
yeah, but if you take any other game that's not Cyberpunk that is a failure, and then they're like, oh, we gotta spend the money and fix it, they're not gonna do that anymore. It's just,
Yeah, I mean, there was Final Fantasy 14. They spent a ton to fix that. There was also No Man's Sky, quite a famous one. They just kept plugging away at it. Sea Thieves as well, to some degree. They just kept plugging away at it. But like those are also like service games, and it was a different time too, I think, to some degree. I think in this day and age, a game has to launch pretty much as close to perfect as possible, and then keep going, if it's a service game at least, and keep going and keep pushing to keep hitting those, you know, milestones and expectations, because the competition for free time is more intense than ever. Like it's not just like beyond gaming. There's so many different things that are trying to pull our attention in different directions, you know. Not just gaming. It's like games can cannibalize each other, but then you've got like people are getting addicted to TikTok or getting addicted to TV shows. Because you can sort of watch a TV show and play a game at the same time, but you know,
you
a
really
lot of
shouldn't.
people, you really shouldn't. Like, if it's a really like in-depth sort of intensive TV show, you're probably not going to be
Well, I don't know if you saw
giving your
that
full attention to
report
the
about
game.
Netflix telling screenwriters that they should add in dialogue about what the character's like actually doing, because they know that a lot of people watch
Watching the background.
Netflix, like they're watching Netflix while doing something else. They're just listening. So they know in this TikTok generation and this generation with, you know, short attention spans, that someone might be looking at another screen. So they want screenwriters to add like dialogue to be like, and I'm walking over here to, like, you know what I mean? Because they know people are, and it's just like, oh man, that would be awful. But yeah,
I mean,
that's just something I saw.
I kind of noticed earlier. I sort of had wrestling on in the background, and I was just sort of listening to it, and I was just sort of waiting for Michael Cole to sort of go, "Oh my God, he's broken in half!" Like so I could look up and see what the move was, you know, and like avoid the filler or whatever. But yeah, it's the point being that competition for free time is intense, and how do you, if you're a game publisher or a game developer in this day and age of no attention spans, like you want as little risk as possible, you know. There was only that report today, or was it yesterday, that EA might have killed Titanfall 3 already.
Yeah, that they canceled the. I guess it was the team that was making the Mandalorian over at Respawn, which was canceled, and this was their new game, which is a first-person shooter, maybe set in the Star Wars universe, or that's what at least I think Jeff Grubb was talking about it. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but
I saw people saying it was Titanfall 3. I haven't really looked into it.
I think Jeff said it wasn't Titanfall 3. I mean, I guess it could be, but even still, it makes you wonder, like, man, Respawn's getting a game canceled? I mean, they've usually been nothing
Even
but
Respawn? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, because you missed the whole Warner Brothers thing that happened while you were gone.
Yeah.
They shut down Monolith.
I kept up with it. I kept up with the news though.
Yeah, they shut down Monolith. They
huge
shut down the,
debacle.
Warner Brothers San Diego. They shut down the studio that made Multiversus. And
Crazy.
Jason Schreier really did a great deep dive on it, and like one of the things that stuck out to me was how they let Monolith work on a new IP for 3 years with no intention of ever releasing it. But they let him work on it for 3 years after Shadow of War. And when Warner Brothers finally had the balls to tell them it's canceled because we're not going to let you release a new IP, the entire leadership team of Monolith left and formed Cliffhanger Games, who are making Black Panther for EA. So, like,
you know what that new IP was?
No, they didn't say what it was.
I got some details on what that was.
Oh,
actually.
what was it?
Let me pull it up here.
Well, it's just funny because, like, all the leadership team leaves, and then, okay, now we're working on this Wonder Woman game, so you're rebuilding the leadership of the studio, but also starting working on another game with the Nemesis system and stuff. And then that game had to be rebooted. And then you're hundreds of millions. I guess they were already like $hundreds of millions in the hole, and the game they had to be rebooted and wasn't going to come out for another 3-4 years. Yeah. And Warner Bros. Is like, all right, we're done. And it's like, man, Monolith has such a history to it, right? The Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor games, the Fear games, the Condemned game. They
made Condemned?
They made Condemned.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love Condemned, dude. I tell you something. I think Warner Brothers is probably the worst run entertainment company in the modern era. Yeah. Like even beyond gaming, like the way they fumbled the DC universe and fumbled stuff like, The Matrix. And how do you fucking do that? How the fuck do you do that? But anyways, I can tell you what the new IP was.
Okay.
This is something I was actually studying a bit last week. So I was told that it was called Codename Legacy.
Okay.
And it was... Now, when I was told this, I immediately thought of Two Human.
Okay. Oh.
But it was a sort of ancient... But I know Two Human was Viking techno, right? Techno Vikings?
Yeah. Well, no, Norse. It was, I guess
Norse,
Viking.
technological Norse.
You played
future,
as like
whatever.
Baldur, yeah.
Yeah, so this was Greek aesthetic, techno magic RPG with the Nemesis system in the game. And it was like the Nemesis system was going to be playable, and they were taking it to the next level, supposedly. Factions, classes, faction alignments, multiple endings, RPG. Warner Brothers didn't like it because it was a new IP, apparently.
Yeah, they weren't. But the thing was, they weren't. Like Jason was saying, they weren't going to let them release it. They let them work on it for 3 years with no intention of ever letting them release it.
Yeah, it's
like, what? That just screams the worst management you could possibly have, right?
I haven't read Jason's piece, but what I was told was they worked on the game and they didn't like it because it was a new IP. So they tried to shoehorn DC into it. Did Jason report that bit?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, so they tried to shoehorn DC into it, but it just didn't work because they built something that was a new IP. It just didn't work like that. But they were trying to salvage it for Warner Brothers' ideological beliefs that it was a bad idea to release a new IP, even though apparently the game was actually pretty good. So I'm of the opinion that Warner Brothers doesn't have any taste anymore, evidented by all the shitty movies they put out recently. And worst, probably they're probably below Ubisoft for mismanagement, I would say right now. If it wasn't for Harry Potter being the single,
I know, right?
The single bright spot they can point to right now, I don't know if Warner Brothers games even still exist, man.
Yeah, well, like Rocksteady, I think Jason reported they're working on a Batman game, but that's still years away. And who knows if it'll be a return to the Batman that we really want? Like, because a lot of that studio has left, right? The co-founders left, formed a new studio, and they're rumored to be working with Xbox on a global publishing game. I don't know if you remember that. And, that studio was filled with a bunch of ex-Rocksteady people. So I think some of these studios that people love from the 360 days, or even before, like, they don't really exist anymore. I mean, even you look at like Rockstar. Yeah, Dan Houser left, and I'm sure he took a few people with him. So this is going to be the first Grand Theft Auto that's launched without Dan Houser, who usually did all the creative story stuff. Which, yeah, I don't know. I did see Michael Pachter was in the news again about Grand Theft Auto. Did you see this?
Mm-mm.
Um, yeah, Michael Pachter says he thinks Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be at an unprecedented price point of $100 or more. Quote, we think the company has plans to sell the game at a previously unheard of price point and suspect that management can offer consumers an incentive to pay $100 or more per unit by rewarding them with the large amount of in-game currency to be spent in GTA Online. There is precedent for integrating an online game experience with a premium game, as Activision did so with both Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty Mobile content prior to the release of its annual Call of Duty Premium installment. In Activision's case, integration led to a 40% increase in sales of Call of Duty Premium. In Take-Two's case, we think a successful integration of GTA Online and GTA 5 or GTA 6 can lead to a $100 price point for the premium game. So this is Pachter saying this.
That is a base price?
Yeah, like, per price. So he's basically saying,
starts at $100.
Starts at 100, right?
I don't believe it.
I mean, I like Pachter. I've always liked Pachter. I've met Pachter. He's very nice to me. But also, Pachter is notorious for
Pachter's cool
saying things and then the opposite coming true, right? I think he recently said in a video that there is the Xbox Series consoles is last hardware from Xbox.
That's not true.
Which isn't true. That the PS6 is gonna struggle, won't reach 100 million console sales whenever it comes out. That what else did he say? PlayStation's like no longer gonna make exclusives because why bother? Because Xbox is basically finished, right? Like a lot, and I'm sitting there and I'm just, my buddy's telling me this stuff and I'm like, all right, well, Xbox is making hardware. I guess the PS6 will sell over 100 million, and they'll still make. It's just like you just look at it, and it's just. Oh, and
I think,
and that most people will subscribe to Game Pass on their smart TVs. Was his other thing, which, maybe 10 years from now, but not right now. So
yeah, I think one of the things with being an analyst, one that at least an analyst that sort of advises investors, you have to be very careful with talking about inside information that isn't out there, right? So you can't, like, I couldn't advise investors with all my insider information because that would trigger insider trading laws, which is illegal. So I think like a lot of his best guesses are just based on actively avoiding looking at inside information. It's kind of funny because if you look at senators in the American Senate, they seem to blatantly inside trade all the time. So it's kind of it's an interesting kind of profession being an analyst, because I think you actively can't look at information that isn't officially available. And if you were looking at just like what's officially available and what's officially out there, some of what he says on paper pretty much makes sense. I think if it wasn't for like the inside knowledge that we know about, I think it would be fair to assume that Xbox probably isn't going to make more hardware based on how this one has gone. If you're just purely looking at Microsoft's reports of like 29% down quarter over quarter non-stop for how many quarters, it would be a fair assumption to make that they ain't going to make more hardware. But we know better because we're
kind of something that Peter Moore just said on Danny and Paris's podcast, I believe yesterday or early today. I think it was yesterday. They had Peter Moore on, and one of the big quotes that came out of it was he did encourage the console war between PlayStation and Xbox because
I saw
it was healthy, but that like now it's like kind of lost its feistiness. But he does talk about that idea of Microsoft, right, of hardware, right? Because this is kind of already dovetailing into, I was going to bring this up later, but we're talking about the hardware because of Pachter and what he said. So I figure we talk about it with what Peter Moore said. Because Peter Moore ran Xbox during the early 360 generation. A lot of people really love Peter Moore for what he did with Sega and then what he did with what everybody considers the crowning jewel of Xbox, which was that 360 gen. And I think ILP's had him on previously, but Danny and Paris have him on or had him on. I'm get the quote here. He says, "Look, I've said it before. Certainly, I did encourage the battle because I think gamers love to see Xbox versus PlayStation, maybe with Nintendo as well, and that I think was a rising tide that lifted all ships." And then he went on to say, "If Microsoft had the choice, would they make hardware? No," he explained. "Would they be delighted if they could be a multi-hundred-billion-dollar entity delivering content directly to your television, to whatever monitor you choose to play on? You bet. The classic Netflix model, you just select who's playing this. 5,000 people playing this, I'm going to jump in right now. No latency, no lag, you're in. And there doesn't need to be a box between you and your controller and the TV set. But still, consoles are, as we've seen particularly with Nintendo now, people love their hardware. The acquisition of Activision Blizzard changed things, I think. Not I think, I know at Microsoft. And so this is not the old days of the console wars and punching each other and trying to steal customers and trying to get market share and build your attach rate. This is bigger than that in an economic sense. Has it lost a bit of the feistiness that the industry, I think, fed upon and grew upon? I think so, yeah. So.
Yeah. We were saying before all this stuff happened, before Activision was really a gleam in Microsoft's eye, I was out here catching bullets for saying that Microsoft sees Google and Apple as its competition.
They've come out and said that themselves, but yeah.
Yeah, they've said it themselves. And it's kind of like, if you are looking at it in that context, you've got to look beyond the console somehow, some way. And like the assumption was always, it's going to be mobile. They'll buy a mobile publisher of some, shape. Nobody could have predicted they'd drop 80 billion on Activision Blizzard. Yeah. But that sort of solidifies them. They look at Tencent. They look at Tencent and engagement as their KPI, at least for right now. But like the industry constantly evolves and constantly changes, so it's like you can't just look at Tencent and just be like, okay, job done with Tencent now. You've got to like evolve with it. You've got to innovate. It's such a competitive industry. So like what might be true today might not be true tomorrow, Maybe there will become some kind of crazy advance in hardware, which does make hardware very important again for Microsoft too. One of the technological breakthroughs that happened last week was hardware related from Microsoft when they announced a new state of matter to stabilize a quantum computing chip.
Hey,
and I was sitting there thinking,
someone told me that those quantum chips are going to power the next Xbox. Is that true, Jez?
Well, maybe in like 30 years or something. But it's like, yeah, I think they need liquid nitrogen cooling right now.
The chip costs like 20 grand or whatever it is. Yeah, that's definitely power the next Xbox.
No, but dude, that's how much processors cost in like the 60s or the 70s. Like back when like a stick of RAM, you needed like 6 dudes to carry like a kilobyte of RAM through your office building. Like technology advances, and I could totally see like if the world doesn't get blown up, that one day you get a quantum processor console in your that can predict your controller's movements before you even think it. I don't fucking know. It's sci-fi bullshit, right? But it's sort of like hardware maybe doesn't matter that much today, but maybe it will tomorrow. And at the end of the day, even if everything's cloud is still fucking hardware. So like hardware will, even if Microsoft did go fully cloud, they would still need to consider hardware. And a cheaper way of delivering cloud would be to make their own cloud hardware rather than pay Nvidia or AMD up the arse for all this fucking technology, which is really, really expensive. Like, one of the things that I constantly get DM'd about right now is, where's the Xbox Series S and X stock? Where's the stock? Where's the stock? Where's the stock? And increasingly, I just think the stock is going into the bloody cloud because it's all the same chips, right? There's a lot of, Microsoft always talks about how they've got double-digit growth for cloud. And if you do have double-digit growth for cloud, then presumably a lot of the silicon that they are getting printed from AMD is going into server racks. But what if, like, you ditched the Xbox operating system and you went with a more Windows-based one, you could use more generic chips, or hell, make your own fucking chips, which Microsoft seems willing to do now. So I think hardware will still be a factor, even if it's cloud, you know. So
I mean, I do agree with Peter Moore. Like, would they rather not make the console and still give you the games somehow through like cloud gaming or whatever? Absolutely. If like that was at if that was at a level, like if cloud gaming was at that level where, you know, like people talked about digital back in the day. It was like, oh, well, digital's kind of just what, 10% of the market, it's not there. And then, you know, a generation and a half later, it's literally, you know, digital's 80% of the market or whatever it is, right? And that's kind of like where cloud gaming is. Like cloud gaming is probably a super small segment, and it's like, well, we kind of have to do these things because, you know, we have 30 million Game Pass subs and 25 million over on console. So if we get rid of console, we're going to lose all that. And there's not like there's a replacement because Microsoft's mobile presence, you know, their store has been delayed. And who knows if the store ever comes out, right? Because that's going to rely on regulators. Cloud gaming isn't, you know, it's in some LG TVs and some Samsung smart TVs. So it's not even, so you're not really at that mass market penetration. You know, now things could help, like you know, the Trump tariffs and raising the price of consoles and raising the price of physical games for all that stuff. If it ever actually happens, maybe
physical dicks.
Maybe that does put you know, cloud gaming in like people's purview because, oh, I just can't afford you know, a new PlayStation because now it's $600 and games are now $90 because. There's a sentiment where like physical and digital games kind of have to launch at the same price point, and if you know the physical games are all kind of made in Mexico and you have to raise the price, some people
because of the tariffs.
Yeah, so like okay, so now you got to raise the price of the digital version. I think they just won't release physical versions of games instead of being like, well, no, now the physical copy is $90, so the digital has to be $90. But I mean, who knows what's going to happen with any of that stuff.
Didn't the tariffs already get cancelled?
Well, you know, kind of walking some of that stuff back. I'm just saying, like, who knows how, you know, if they really get implemented, you know, in the worst way that we can imagine, or if it's like just threats and nothing ever really comes out of it or whatever. Yeah. So that'll be to see in the future. So, but we ain't there yet. And you could say, well, you know, maybe Microsoft doesn't care because they're gonna be putting all this stuff on PlayStation and Nintendo, which is like, yeah, they're gonna do that. But you know, why would you want to still even give up your platform and all the money that you make on it just for that? So
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I think like, at least for now, you know, I mean, things could change. Like Microsoft could be like, actually. We're you know, spinning our wheels in the mud here. Maybe hardware is a dumb idea, but at least as of right now, as of this podcast speaking right now, this second, hardware is still on the table, and greenlit and all that kind of stuff. But you know, plans can change, things can get cancelled. The economic environment is quite volatile right now, as you alluded to, with your tariffs and geopolitics and all that kind of stuff. We don't know what's going to happen longer term, but at least for right now, it seems like hardware's still on the table. But
yeah,
I think when you do have when you are sort of like an edge computing platform, as in you deliver services where people are, like OneDrive, for example. OneDrive's not platform exclusive. You can get it on phone, laptop, Mac, anything you want, right? When you are sort of making money on every single platform, you can kind of afford your own hardware to be niche. And that's kind of what Surface has become. Like Surface is $1 billion business, but it's a modest, very modest business. It's not something they actively try and push anymore. But it's something they're still experimenting with. You know, they've put AI chips in the latest version, and it's sort of used as a reference device for OEMs who want to build AI PCs and shit like that, right? And you know, Surface has still got its fans, and I know it does because of our traffic stats, you know, on when we cover Surface and things like that. And I think like Xbox can survive in that universe as a sort of a very affordable mini PC, affordable mini gaming PC. That's also a vector for Game Pass. I don't think it has to be. I don't think it has to compete directly with PlayStation. I don't think it has to compete with all of these other things to still be a relevant platform for developers, especially if, like what we expect, the next Xbox uses Windows as its development environment. But it's all speculation until Microsoft gives us something more concrete. I would really love them to be more transparent about some of this shit. But I think one of the reasons they're not being transparent about it is because they don't want to make a promise of something happening if something does go wrong with the global economy and the business model no longer makes sense in any stretch of the imagination.
Well, also I think it's like it's still too far away, right?
Yeah. Well, that was the other rumor. Like, I saw in the
let me bring that up.
You've got 2026 Xbox.
Yeah, the Ghost.
I don't know what that's about.
The Ghost of Hope, who's a Call of Duty leaker. It's talking about details for Modern Warfare 4, which is the 2026 Call of Duty. Because you have this year's Call of Duty, which is supposedly a sequel to Black Ops 2. And rumors suggest that it's still being made for the PS4 and Xbox One, which disappoints a lot of people. But apparently this one in 2026, they're dropping old gen support, so no PS4 and Xbox One. It'll have traditional user interface like the older games, more traditional than Black Ops 6, it says. Engines being overhauled to address the Modern Warfare 2 problems like visual clutter. And it's the big kind of rumor that spread out of this is it's being developed on dev kits for the next Xbox. And that no Warzone 3 if Verdansk fails to retain current returning players, which means, I don't know, like, it's kind of crazy they would completely ditch Warzone. But yeah, apparently they're bringing the next season's gonna have the original Warzone map. I don't know. I don't play Call of Duty. I mean I have like 200 hours in Modern Warfare, like when they did Warzone, but I guess players aren't happy with like whatever the last Warzone map is, so they're going back to like the OG stuff. And he's saying if it doesn't retain its current or players or gets people back, they're just going to be done with Warzone, which seems dumb to me, but whatever. But the big thing that we focus on is being developed on dev kits for the next Xbox. Game for 2026. So
they don't. I'll ask you, what do you think about that?
Well, so he doesn't.
Because you know what I'm going to say about dev kits for Xbox and Xbox, right?
Okay, I don't really believe that there are like official dev kits out for developers. Now, with that said, Activision is a first-party studio, and if there's any studio that would get information about target specs or what have you, it would probably be the Call of Duty studios, considering how important they are and how much money they make. So I could see them having the information about what the next gen Xbox is targeting, and then when they're developing the game,
PC around that,
and when they're making the game, to make sure that the engine and all those other things works on this next Xbox. Because we've seen pictures of the dev kits, right? When they go out and stuff, like you'll eventually get pictures of them and things like that. But I've also seen other people say like, oh, the next Xbox is an open secret within the industry, etc., etc. And I'm sure people know that it's coming out. I really doubt there's like an official dev kit like there would be. Like, I think the next Xbox is coming in 2027. Right? And I think dev kits would go out next year in like 2026 for like the launch of what?
It's very specific of you, Rand.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if the next Xbox is 2027, you got to get dev kits out there earlier. So I'd be like, oh, dev kits would be next year.
Is that right?
That's what I think. I don't know. You obviously have, you said you were gonna say something about it and how you feel. So what do you think?
No, I'm enjoying hearing your speculations there, Rand.
Oh yeah, my speculation. Look,
yeah, so some good speculation there, Rand.
Yeah, I don't think when this game comes out in 2026 that it's also going to be releasing on the next Xbox next year. I don't think the next Xbox is coming out next year. I could be wrong, and maybe it would be cool. I mean, because those have been the rumors for a while, dating back to like last year, that that 2026 was going to be the target thing for the next Xbox, which was definitely an aggressive path because we saw the leaked plans for next generation because of the FTC trial, where Microsoft uploaded like wrong files or the files to a wrong folder that went public. And we saw that, okay, these are the plans for the console, and that they were planning on launching it in 2028. And then Phil and everybody had to come out and say, those were the plans, but they ain't the plans anymore. And that was when we got like the leaks of Brookfield and the Fable controller, Brooklyn, like all these sort of things, which, the controller didn't come to pass, at least not yet. And some of the things they were planning for the mid-gen Xboxes didn't happen. Because they were supposed to have like better Bluetooth and better Wi-Fi or whatever, which definitely didn't happen. So some of the plans changed. I think it would be extremely aggressive and optimistic to be like, okay, if they were planning for 2028 at one point and then they shifted, but now they want to actually release it 2 years earlier. And then plus, I think you're reporting on it was not that long ago, maybe a month ago, where you said it was basically, Satya and like that was recently that the next Xbox was approved all the way up the chain, costed out and everything, which I don't know how the lead time is being thinking, like, because some people took that report, Jez, as to mean like, oh, now they can finally start R&D and all that stuff on it, and the earliest we could see is 2028 if they're just starting it now. But they've been doing all the work for previously.
They've done all that already.
So now it's like, okay, it's approved. Now we can start, the mass production, the plans, the marketing kind of stuff, angles, all that sort of stuff. Yes. So my belief is that there's really no official dev kits yet. This is more them probably working with something, targeting what they believe are the specs to the next Xbox to make sure that everything kind of gels with. Look, and I'm not a developer, so I don't really know, but I do not think there's going to be a new Xbox next year. So that's my
reliable. How reliable is this particular leak?
And that's the thing. Like, I don't really follow Call of Duty leaks, so I don't know. But I mean, it is quoted. Insider Gaming, all these different websites had articles written about it. It must have some sort of credibility, otherwise people would just immediately dismiss it. But then again, I don't know, because anybody,
you can get clicks off anything.
I know, and it'd be like, oh, rumor out here, boom, here comes all the articles written about it. So I don't know the guy, so I don't know his reliability. But then I think it wasn't that long ago where somebody else even talked about it. Like 2026 was going to see the release of the Xbox Prime. Remember the whole thing with Xbox Prime?
Oh yeah,
I think that was somebody else. But still,
I will say this: like, assuming that the information about Call of Duty is accurate, there is no Xbox dev kit right now. So like the idea that developers have already got the next gen Xbox dev kit, quote unquote, that's just not accurate. And also, if the next Xbox is Windows based, as most people assume, you could basically spec out a sort of kind of dev kit that targets those specs. I mean, the whole idea of the next Xbox is that it is going to be a PC in essence, but with a TV friendly shell that also a TV-friendly shell that also has a specific set of specs in mind. So developers will be like building for a Windows PC in a way, but in such a way that they know exactly what the specs will be, so they can optimize exactly for it. So when you're optimizing for PC, it's like you've got to target as many specs as you can imagine, right? Or at least what's popular in the Steam hardware survey. But if you know exactly what's in the Xbox, you can optimize around that. But so maybe you're right. Maybe it's like the Call of Duty stuff is accurate, but like the dev kit talk is more about what kind of specs that they've been told to target for the next Xbox, if it is indeed Windows, just the traditional Windows developer environment. And if you are cutting off past gen, I mean, that would be a good reason to do it, right? Because you're no longer building for the Xbox ERA system, which is what the developer environment is called of the current Xbox. It's ERA, which I believe stands for Exclusive Resource Access, and it refers to the fact that the Xbox is split into multiple, at least this is my understanding of it. It refers to the fact the current Xbox operating system is split into separate operating systems, and if you are running a game, you have exclusive resource access to the whole console, whereas like an app, for example, running an Xbox doesn't have full resource access or whatever. I don't know, but it's called Xbox ERA.
Well, I mean,
could
they actually be on some early form of the dev kit? Not like
I
the
don't
official
think
one they would
so.
give out next year, but just like an early prototype. Because if anybody would be getting these things, it would be one of the especially an Activision studio that's making Call of Duty that's coming out. You know,
I don't think so, man. I really don't. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe, but I personally, I don't think so. But another piece of this puzzle that I kind of hurts the credibility of it is the 2026 angle, because like you, I'm pretty sure it's not new hardware is not 2026.
well,
It's
he doesn't.
2027.
I mean, he doesn't say You know, he doesn't say anywhere here that it's releasing for the next gen Xbox in 2026. He says it's being developed on the dev kits. It's being developed on dev kits for the next Xbox. Now,
Okay, I get.
that could mean a lot of different things. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the next Xbox is coming next year and that the game's launching on it. But you would imagine if it comes the next year, they'd probably want some version that is compatible with it. So it would make sense to kind of make sure that while you're working on it, that all your systems and everything works with whatever they're doing for the next Xbox, right?
Yeah, I feel you. All right, well, fair enough. But yeah, I just hope that it actually comes out.
What, Call of Duty 2026 or the next Xbox?
The next Xbox, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, because that would throw all your reporting in the trash, then, bro.
I mean, not really.
I mean, well, nobody would believe. Let's just imagine a scenario where suddenly they're like,
actually put it in a report on Windows Central that it was greenlit. That's something we talked about.
No, you absolutely had it in an article.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I think I did.
You did.
Well, it is greenlit, you know. But
well, it was on
at the
Windows.
end of the
I'm
day,
just saying, if they change their mind and don't greenlight it and it's over and there's no console, people will be like, well, Jez Gordon reported and it was wrong. You know, like your Final Fantasy. They're still giving you shit about Final Fantasy, about the whole slate, because nobody, PlayStation fans or people that don't like you, websites that don't like you.
I'm not aware of.
Just said Final Fantasy is coming to Xbox and they're still waiting for it.
This is what we do right? If Windows Central, if plans changed, it didn't come out, we just get the prototype and review it. That's what we do with the Surface Neo and the Surface Mini, and get in shitloads of trouble for it. Because obviously Zach reported the Surface Mini exists. Microsoft cancelled it, and everyone was like, "Oh, Zach reported this didn't exist." And then what did Zach do? He got his hands on one and did an unofficial review of it, and got in a load of trouble. So, of course, plans change, and I think any reasonable person would.
No. Plans can't change; they have to be set in stone. So if they change, that means then you were wrong. So.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, with how many years out? 2 years out? Plans can definitely change between now and then, especially given the state of the world. Well, that's why I say I hope it comes out, because, Microsoft could just turn around and decide this ain't even worth the effort. Let's just stick with PlayStation and become a publisher now. Yeah. I mean, the cynic in me says that's definitively a possibility. They could just decide it's not worth the effort and the aggro and just stick with cloud or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, why would they want to leave all that money on the table? Yes. There's a ton of people still actively buying shit on Xbox, And from what I've heard, the user base is pretty stable on Xbox. So but have costs gone up so much that it's not worth that keeping that install base? I don't know. We don't know because Microsoft's not very transparent about this. Their thinking on some of this shit.
I'm gonna give some of the super chats here, Jez. We have Andy Ackerman with the $4.99. Shout out to Rand for being the second greatest co-host Xbox 2 podcast. Oh, okay. So now Jez wasn't here. So who was the? So Jez was what? So it was Nick. Okay. BT Maverick, member for 1 month, says Jez, read this. Rand, what is it you can't face? I guess they want you to say, what is it you can't face?
What is it you can't face?
Yeah, apparently, because they did that to Nick last time here, and he basically sounded like, cunt face, I guess. Like when people with the British or Australian accent says, "What is it you can't face?" He explained it to me. So, Michael,
I think that might be I think that might work better for me if I had a southern accent, but I don't.
Mm-hmm. Michael Larson with the 5 says, "Any chance of a Fable collection?" I mean,
isn't there already one?
No, they did Fable Anniversary. Very much like how they did Halo Anniversary, where they did a 360 version for Fable 1, but they never touched Fable 2 or Fable 3. And I thought the same. Like, why, if you're doing these collections, which a lot of people probably haven't played Fable. I mean, Fable wasn't even around during the Xbox One gen. Right, because Fable Legends got canceled, so there's gonna be a lot of people that don't remember the OG Fable. So why not? I mean, put a collection out, remaster the graphics, put out Fable 1, Fable 2, and Fable 3 before you release the new Fable game. But considering
I can't remember Fable for shit, so
I mean, considering Fable's next year, if it doesn't get delayed to 2027 at this point, but if you're gonna do a Fable collection, it has to be now, has to be this year, and it doesn't really look like that's gonna be the case. And I don't know why they wouldn't do it. Maybe they feel that it's not worth it, even though like we've seen companies talk about doing remasters and how it's basically like free money because the dev costs are kind of low and you're just taking a game and sprucing it up, and that's why a lot of people do them, because it's like not a lot of work, but people buy them. So maybe they feel that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. I don't know. I would have done one if I was in charge of Microsoft's game portfolio, and I'd be like, all right, we're bringing back Fable, which, God, when did Fable 3 come out? 2011? I forget what year, but it's like we haven't had a Fable game in a long time. Like, yeah, let's bring back the Fable collection as like starting the hype train for the next Fable. We should absolutely do that. It seems like it's something that would make a decent amount of cash, but they're not doing it. So it doesn't seem like it. I mean, maybe there could be an announcement at the showcase and it'd be like, "Hey, Fable collection's coming," or whatever. So we didn't talk about this when we talked about Fable. So I'll throw these kind of quick questions out at you, but with the Fable delay, how long of a delay are you thinking? Is this, if we assumed it was coming out September, October, do you think it's delayed to like March or May, or do we think it's the dreaded full year delay where it's now a fall 2026 game?
I'm wondering if they themselves know.
Okay.
Because they didn't really give a good time frame.
Sure.
Maybe they're waiting to see if GTA actually lands when they say it's going to land.
What do you think about GTA? If you had to put money on it right now, is GTA coming this year or is GTA coming next year?
If I had to put money on it right now,
I
would say GTA is coming this year.
Okay.
That's weirdly optimistic.
That is weirdly optimistic. What do you know? What do you know?
I don't know anything. That's just me deciding to be optimistic for once.
Okay.
I feel like it'd be weird if Take-Two is telling investors it's on track for this year and then it's not. I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe
It's
that's
not like they're
naive.
going to
But...
delay the game in their financial meeting. If anything,
No,
they'll
but
just.
it's like that'd be mislead. That'd be kind of shady to
Is
investors
it?
to mislead
It,
them
it
like
was
that.
it was on target until it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He sounded pretty sure to me, but I don't know. I'm gonna decide to be optimistic about GTA. I'm
Okay.
gonna jinx it now. It's gonna get fucking delayed next week. You watch.
There's going to be a trailer that shows up there, the next GTA trailer that has the date and it just says 2026 on it or something.
Yeah,
Or like
but like,
March, May 15th, 2026.
yeah. But if I'm a Microsoft and I'm delaying a game because of GTA, I suppose like I want to give it a wide berth to be like, well, we can say it's going to be delayed, and then wait to see what GTA does, and then give our launch date, maybe.
Mm,
Um, but if it isn't GTA related, and let's face it, most likely is. But let's just imagine it's not GTA related. Maybe they're just like deciding around when some of their other games are launching. Because I've heard that State of Decay 3 could be launching in the first half of next year.
okay.
So you don't want to launch Fable on top of State of Decay 3 because from
No.
what I've heard, State of Decay 3's could be a banger,
Uh,
a serious banger.
So you're looking at State of Decay 3 in the first 6 months of next year, between like
Yeah,
January and June, essentially.
that's what I've heard. So like, take it as a podcast rumor and not a sourced report. Well, obviously there's a source here, but it's not something I'd be confident enough to put in a report. It's just for the sake of podcast discussion. But let's assume like it's just an example. They could be waiting to see where some of their other games land before they start committing to a Fable launch window. So if I had to guess, Microsoft themselves doesn't know, and probably there's other factors mitigating whether or not they're gonna launch Fable wherever they decide to launch it. If I had to guess.
Okay. So with that said, then do you think we see Fable again at this year's showcase, or do they just hold it until the Dev Direct in January next year?
Ooh, damn, we ran with a good
Well,
question.
because when with the delay, they also dropped footage which you saw and you described on the podcast, and then you
Was it
showed to me.
accurate?
Yeah, I mean, there was
Was the giant chicken there? Was the sausages there?
yeah, they're kind of baiting
Oh,
out a Wolverine and stuff. But it because when you showed me
Wolverine?
the footage, and I didn't see all the footage, I saw like 30-second clip. I was like, oh yeah, this is some of the stuff I've seen. But then you talked about that back in November because there was the discussion about how new is this footage or how old is it, and it was like, well, it's at least as
Mhm.
old as November of last year, probably even
Yeah.
earlier. So they do announce the delay, but then they show gameplay, actual gameplay of the game. And that begs the question, did they do that because we're not going to hear anything about Fable the rest of the year and they're not going to show anything at the showcase? And then the next time we see Fable and hear about Fable, it's January Dev Direct where they, break it down, what have you. I mean, what do you think?
Maybe they do skip. Maybe they do skip it then for the showcase. I mean, the footage that they showed, I was told wasn't for public consumption.
Mm.
But maybe the decision to delay came in between then and now. So that'd be quite interesting. But it wasn't really like a trailer, was it? It was very much like uncut kind of footage, and there was some stuff in that footage that I hadn't seen before too. Like some of the scenery, I don't think that was in the footage that I saw. What I saw was the chicken, the footage with the
Balverine.
werewolf.
Yeah.
Wolverine. It's a werewolf,
It's a
bro.
Balverine,
Wolverine.
bro.
A what?
That's the Fable term for the werewolf, Balverine.
Balverine.
Yeah, it's a Balverine.
What the fuck is a Balver?
If you played Fable, you'd know.
I played Fable.
It's
but
not
it
a
was
werewolf,
long
it's a
time.
Balverine.
Well, okay, fine.
Either
It's
way,
a
whatever.
Balverine,
It looks
but
like a werewolf, but in Fable, it's a
it
Balverine.
looks.
Yes.
If it's not a werewolf, why werewolf shaped? But anyways,
It's Balverine shaped.
but whatever. But yeah, I ain't down on my Fable lore, bro. But yeah, I don't know. I suppose it's one of them. It could be a bunch of different reasons, and we can only really speculate at the moment.
Yeah. DB Cooper wants to know, anybody know when the design lab will be back? I didn't even,
The design lab's down.
I
I
don't
didn't
even
know it was
know
down.
it was gone. I know Colt just bought a controller from there. Is design
Hang
lab
on, let me have a
not
look.
working, Jez?
Let me have a look. Xbox Design Lab.
Doing some investigative reporting right now. Bringing up
Investigative journalism.
Google and typing into Xbox Design Lab.
Yep. Oh no. Purchases in the Xbox Design Lab are temporary unavailable as we move to a new payment platform. You can still design and download 3D print files for mini attachments, blah, 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 blah. Sign up here to be notified when you're ready to shop again. So I wonder if it's in certain regions, maybe? Because that's Germany where I'm seeing it down right now. Let me just VPN with good old Surfshark and have a quick look at the Design Lab in the UK. Yes, down in the UK as well. Let me VPN with Surfshark over to United States. The good old US of A. It seems to be down there as well, bro.
So Design Labs is currently down. Can't buy anything on it.
Yeah, I did not know that. I'm gonna have to send that to the newsroom and get them to write it up.
Oh, there you go.
Where's Samuel? Come here, Samuel.
Uh,
Good old Samuel Talbot.
Frosty with the $9.99 says, if games start to be native for Windows and ARM in the next decade, how would that change things? In my opinion, it could make Apple sneak their way in, as they have the hardware and the software to make an impact. There's always been rumors about Apple making like a console, hasn't there been?
Yeah, so I heard around the time Apple was building a car.
Ooh, oh yeah, that's right. They were gonna do a car, weren't they?
Yeah, the car's been completely mothballed now. But I heard they were poaching staff from Xbox to build a console. That was God.
That was a couple years ago now at this point, right?
2 or 3 years ago, maybe I heard that. That was a long time ago. I think I told you about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were poaching staff from Xbox to build their own console. But Apple is absolutely trash. So I guess they just failed, like they failed with everything else they're trying to do.
Or I mean, it's only a couple years ago. I mean, how long? Hardware does take some time to come out. So
nah, they ain't releasing a console, man.
No.
They can't even get Mac gaming on in a serious position.
Well, how much would an Apple console even cost? $1,000? $1,500?
$1 million, bro.
Can you imagine the markup on that?
Dude, Apple told investors recently that their AI won't be ready for the next 3 years or something.
Ooh,
dude,
I'm sure that didn't help their stock price. Like, what do you mean AI is not going to be ready?
No. So like, Apple is in a weird position right now. They've cancelled their Vision Pro headset as well, and their new iPad is just the same as the last one. Like, they're kind of like spinning in the mud right now. So I think Apple's got bigger problems to worry about than trying to build a console in a universe where there wouldn't even be third place. They'd be like fifth place behind Steam. So I can't see that happening, man. They've got way bigger problems to worry about. But
That's true.
The share price is holding steady.
Now,
I guess Apple investors don't mind mediocrity.
I mean, that's a shot at any Apple investors out there. Anybody in chat an Apple investor? Jez just, man, he just. I mean, I know you don't like Apple. It's one of the companies that you don't like.
Nah, I will give Apple a shout out about one thing. I was really impressed with the videos my girlfriend took with her iPhone, because it's like underwater, works underwater, but also like the optic image stabilization that Apple has in those phones is so impressive. Like the video footage my girlfriend took underwater in the ocean, fantastic, looks professional. My Samsung is not capable of that. So there you go. I gave you some flowers, Apple, you shitty parasitic company that you are. There you go.
Let's switch gears, because I want to talk about some games.
Switch gears of war.
Yeah, let's talk about some games. So
I like games.
Yeah. I started Balatro. I know, crazy, right? What, Balatro?
Balatro?
Balatro. Yeah, there was
Why are
this
we
thing.
talking about Balatro?
I don't know. My buddy Maka has been pestering me to play Balatro and stuff, and I was like, you know what? I was kind of waiting to play Split Fiction, so I didn't have anything. I was like, hey, all right, let me see what this Balatro's all about. Now I'm coming into this position where like there are roguelikes I enjoy, like Hades. I think Hades is absolutely amazing and stuff. But there are some other ones I played that I don't care for, and I'm not the biggest fan of card-based ones. And I don't play poker, so whatever. And it is true that this game isn't really like, sure, you play poker hands, but it's more about building like the perfect deck of jokers to kind of synergize and score points and stuff. So I started playing it, and I'm like, all right. And I can see why people love this game, Jess. I really can. Because it does have that addictive one more run quality to it. Right? The game's set up in a way where it's like there's, you pick a deck that has like an attribute. Like red deck gives you an extra discard. Blue deck gives you an extra hand. Yellow deck gives you an extra $10 at start. So like when you play and you earn money, you can buy jokers which do a variety of things. Like the way the game is set up is like you play a set, like a poker hand, like a pair or flush, high card, and you get chips. So like a 10, 10 ace of spades or the 10 of spades, it gives 10 chips. But then there are jokers to be like, well, if you play an even number, you get plus 50 chips. So if you play that 10 and it's because it's even, you'll get an extra 50 chips on top of it, so it'll be like 60. But then there are also these things called multipliers, where it's like, oh, if you every time you discard, you get an X mult of 0.1. So if you discard 20 times or 20 cards, you'll have like a multiplier of like 2. So it's like, 60 times 2, right? So it's 120. And like you have these antes, which are 3, you got small blind, a big blind, and the boss blind, which then you fight. So it's like you start it up, and it's like you gotta score more than 300 points. And the next thing's like you gotta score more than 450. And then the boss blind will have some negative effect, like spades are debuffed this round, so you can't play any spades. And then you gotta beat the point total that it says. And the whole point of the game is like playing the points, but then getting the jokers to add more chips and then more multipliers. And then as you play and win and buy more stuff, more things get unlocked, like more powerful cards and all that sort of stuff. And then you beat the lowest difficulty, but now you unlocked a new deck. The new deck has something else, but then also you unlocked a new difficulty. And it basically wants you to like run through all the decks and beat the game on all the difficulties with all the decks and all this sort of stuff. And I've beaten the game. I've beaten I beat a few runs now, and I'm like, I said to my buddy Mark, I'm like, so is this what the game is? Like, it's just, I'm just gonna, all right, I beat the the red stake difficulty with the yellow deck, and it's like, I think there's like 7 difficulties, and it's like, is the game just like, all right, well now you beat it on another difficulty with another deck, or because there's a bunch of different decks, and it's like, yeah, and it's and then you unlock more jokers and all that stuff, and I'm just like, I can see why people like this, because I think I played it for 10 hours, and every time I end a run or whatever, I'm like, I don't know if I want to play this anymore, and then I always come back and play some more, and then I'm just like, oh, I didn't win this last time. Like I was going for an achievement where it was like, don't re-roll. Because you can re-roll in the store to get, potentially better jokers. And you use, like, your money to buy, like, these Arcana packs, which change the cards to different things and all these different abilities. And you can increase the poker hands with these planet cards. So, like, a flush starts off at, like, if you have a flush, it gives you an automatic, like, 60 chips, but at, like, a times 3 multiplier. But oh, you level it up to 2, you get 80 chips and a 5 times multiplier, and you can keep on. If you find those cards, I think I got a flush up to like level 18 where it was like a ridiculous amount of chips and a ridiculous amount of multiplier. And there is something like when it counts the cards and it hits with the way the music is and the sound effects and then how the cards hit and the jokers hit, there's a little bit of that dopamine rush, seeing the numbers flare up on the left-hand side and like reach ridiculous. I mean, you can score like a trillion points in the game. I haven't like reached that far. I think my biggest hand was like 1.8 million chips, but I had something like really well synergized. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna play this game. So I don't know. I'm at the point now where okay, I got Split Fiction. I'm playing that. I also got Assassin's Creed Shadows, so I'm playing that.
Ooh.
And I'm kind of like, okay, but I don't need to beat Balatro like, you know, next week or whatever. But it's like, is Balatro a game I'm going to be coming back to when I don't have something else I want to play? I could see it, but I just don't. I don't know how much longer I really want to play it because there's a part of me that really does want to get into those. Like, I want to build like a deck and reach those ridiculous numbers. I want to score 100 million points in a hand, right? But then it's like, I don't want to like, oh, well, you unlocked a new deck, so to beat the, you know, and the run doesn't take long. It's just like, it's kind of like the Destiny Diablo gameplay model where the people who play it are constantly playing the same thing to maybe get better loot, to be able to attack the higher difficulties, to get potentially better loot and rinse and repeat. That gameplay loop has never really appealed to me.
I think
that much.
I think part of Balatro's appeal, like from the people I know who play it, is that it's good in a certain lifestyle setting. Like my friend Genbox360 on Twitter, she plays it on the sofa on a Steam Deck while the kids running around or like, you know, watching TV or whatever. So she can pay attention to looking after the kid and not have to like, so it's not like a super intensive, you know, story-based game where like the lifestyle distractions of, you know, family being awake or whatever. It doesn't get in the way. So I think like it might hold more appeal to people who are potentially more busy than you.
Sure. No, I mean, it's not
like,
it's not that. It's just like I mentioned the Diablo and Destiny gameplay model, but also the model
well,
of
even Diablo. It's like you don't have to think while you're playing these games.
Well, I know, but
and you tend to be someone who likes to think a bit while you're playing a game.
I'm just saying the model of here's all these decks and all these difficulties and beating on each one of these things, on each one of these difficulties, each one of these decks doesn't also appeal to me because I don't know if that's something I want to do. Like, I think I've beaten like 4 runs, and I'm at the point now where I'm like, what's left for me to really even like outside of unlocking more jokers and more things, like what's left for me to really do in this game outside of like, well, you got better jokers and you're playing on a harder difficulty, so you're scoring more points. Like, I could see why that could be appealing to people, just like I could see how the Destiny Diablo model could be appealing to people, but I'm not sure I'm that person. So, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. I get why it's addictive. It's a quality game. It is fun. You know, like I'm playing it and I'm like, hey, this is kind of cool. And it's definitely outside of my comfort zone. Like, I don't really play those type of games. I'm just like, okay.
Like all the shit you were saying earlier about flushes and jokers and shit. I had no idea what the fuck you were talking about.
Yeah, like a poker hand. I mean, they explain it well enough. It's like whatever.
Talking about?
Yeah, but so yeah, that's been my experience with Balatro. At least I tried it out. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna play it. My buddy wants me to like do everything in the game, and it's like a 300. Like my buddy Maka got all the achievements in like 300 hours on the Xbox version, and then did it all again on the mobile version, on the Apple version, because there's no cross save between anything. So like, if you have it on Steam and you have it on Xbox, you have it on mobile, they're all like different saves. There's no cross between each. So like, you have to do everything all again, unlock all the jokers, beat all the things. So he did it all again on his phone. It's just,
Cray.
whatever. And I'm just like, I don't want to like, oh, okay, yeah, I beat yellow deck and I beat it on the black difficulty. Okay, now I can do yellow deck on the gold difficulty. Oh, but there's a new deck and now I got to start at white difficulty and work my way up because each of the decks have like a different, it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, and so it's like I don't know how much more I want to delve into that. But that's Balatro. Last night, me and my buddy Gopher started Split Fiction. And
that's the game playing on the screen, right?
That's the game. Recorded the gameplay, the first hour of the game. I liked It Takes Two quite a bit. It won Game of the Year in 2021. The reviews came in for this game. Another outstanding release from Hazelight and Joseph Ferris. I think it's a 91 right now on Metacritic. And let me tell you, Jez, it fucking deserves that score. In fact, maybe it should even be higher. Because, bro, we played it for 5 hours last night. And it was some of the most fun I've had playing a game in, I don't know, not like forever, but there's just something.
10 minutes.
Oh. Bro, we were constantly amazed and at like the uniqueness that the game offers. Like there's not another game like this in the market. And just the amount of originality and things that they're doing in this game, in the co-op setting of two people working together to solve, gameplay problems or of getting past sections. And we're only on we just beat chapter 3. Like, I think there's 7 or 8 chapters in the game. And the more I play, the more I'm just like, dude, this game's incredible. Like, we're in this thing where it's like, you have the two contrasting chicks and what they're like. One's a science fiction writer and one's a fantasy writer, and they get together. And the story might be maybe its weakest part, although I don't really know what's going on yet. At least with It Takes Two, it was kind of like a husband and a wife coming together because their marriage is kind of falling apart with the kid stuck in the middle. So it was, there was that aspect to the game. Where this is just like, oh, this company seems like they're just going to be stealing ideas from people's heads. So I don't know really where the story's going to go. I don't know if this is supposed to be like an analogy for like AI or whatever. We'll see where it goes. So like the story is like the weakest element of the game, but the moment-to-moment gameplay is just like sublime. The amount of cool shit you're doing in this. And yeah, it's I think much more linear than It Takes Two. But if you just watch like the footage that's playing, you go from, being in this setting where you're like cyber ninjas, and it's this like highway, but these cars are just floating in the air, moving through the highway. You need to make it across and get to the end, but like you have like a gravity-defying sword, so like when you see these little things you can interact with, you can change gravity and float to them, and then the other character has a whip, so you're kind of helping each other get across these cars that are flying, and then they add the combat into it, and then boom, that's over, and now you're in a fantasy world with all these different ogres and trolls, and now you're trying to stealth through and get past that stuff, and then like the amount of originality is just, I don't know how many times we'd be sitting there playing and just like, holy crap, like that section was so fun. And they don't keep things like, they'll do something, but then they'll move on. And it's like some games would maybe have you do a section too long. This one's like, oh, we're doing this. All right, now we're doing this. Oh, now we're doing this. Now we're doing this. So you're playing through the game and it constantly changes things up. And each person will have something crazy to do. The one character, my buddy Gopher, he's driving a car while we're getting chased after these other cars, like shooting down, and I got a gun and a rocket launcher, and I'm trying to take down the cars while he's trying to make these jumps. Or another part where we're racing on a motorcycle, and so I'm driving and then using my whip to flip gravity, while Gopher is trying to use his whip to take down the take down the cars and doing things with the phone, where it's like I've never seen this before in the game. It's really like It Takes Two, but like taken to the next level. You can definitely tell the budget was massively increased, or at least, I think doubled in between games. It definitely seems like a lot of maybe ideas they had with It Takes Two that didn't work because of the setting are expanded upon, and like, oh, we can do this stuff here. Like, oh, imagine if you're a crazy ninja warrior or whatever, like things maybe they couldn't do in the previous game that they do here. It almost kind of seems like It Takes Two was a concept game, and like this is the full like boom experience of like this was like our proof of concept that we could do this, and then this is like the main course with all the cool stuff. And then during each level, there's like these little side stories you come across, which are optional content, even though they're kind of put in your path, Jez. Like, you can't really miss it. They'll shout it out and be like, oh, you can ignore them. But like the thing is, like, the optional content is it's like really good in itself. There's kind of like bite-sized levels where like one, you start off and you're paragliding and you're chasing after a train, and you're trying to dodge all these different buildings or whatever, and then you land in the water, and now you're skiing, and they switch it up. And then another one we just did last night was in like the sci-fi setting where there was this dying star, and you got to shut it down. So you're getting closer and closer to it, but it has that every few seconds it's sending out this pulse which kills you, but you got to stand behind these windows. It reminded me a lot of Inside, where like you're running through an inside with the character, and the sound waves would hit, and if you weren't behind like a thing, it would instantly like vaporize you. But like done here with two people, and like the sound design of the star exploding, bro, like I was sitting there, I'm like, this is like incredibly cool. Like how, and it's like optional content because you could skip it and just continue on with like the story with what they're telling you, right? So like the second level, you're in this like cyberpunk story, you're fighting these bosses, which are definitely a step up from It Takes Two. Really great. And then like the third level, it's a fantasy thing where now my character can transform into a monkey or a fish to swim, while Gopher's character transforms into a tree or a fairy, and now you kind of gotta solve these different puzzles that way. And that's just like 2 of the levels in the game, and I think there's like 7. So like not only is like the score justified, and I know March is, I haven't even finished the game yet, and I know March is early in the year, but goddamn, like right now, I mean, this is my game of the year, and it's gonna take something like super impressive to beat. Like I've like loved every second of this game so far. Like maybe, like I said, the only like nitpick is like the story really doesn't seem, I don't know where they're going with the story just yet, and it definitely seems a step down in comparison to the story they were telling in It Takes Two. But the fun factor of playing with your buddy and the crazy stuff that they're doing constantly in this game with the optionals, like I am just constantly amazed. And I just look at Joseph Fares and Hazelight's history, where you go from Brother as A Tale of Two Sons, which is really cool, but definitely indie. And they kind of step it up with A Way Out, the two criminals, and they get through that, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's good too. And then they step it up, and here's It Takes Two. And it's like, here's, like, oh, we've made 2 co-op games. With Brothers, it was you control the one son with the left stick and the other son with the right stick, right? So it's like a co-op game, but you're just playing yourself, right? And then A Way Out is 2 people are controlling it, the separate characters, and it's like, boom, It Takes Two. You can definitely tell like the budget was well increased for that game. And then you look at this one, it's like, oh man, the budget's more increased, and they definitely seem more comfortable with the type of game they're making, and some of the ideas they have are just, it's like, damn, like it really makes It Take Two kind of seem like I mentioned before, kind of like a proof of concept almost sort of thing, because like they really take that next step. So you just look at the studio of what it was with Brothers to what it is now, and you're like, man, Joseph Fares, he may have an ego on him, fuck the Oscars and all that shit, but this man is delivering some of the most original, unique content in the gaming space, period. Like, there's
And
nothing
it's
else
still got
like
the
it.
friend pass, right?
Yeah, and you have a friend pass, and so I own the game. So if you do buy the game, you can invite anybody. If someone wants to play it and your buddies with them on Steam, you can invite them, or they're on PlayStation or on Xbox. It doesn't matter. You can just invite them to play. They don't have to own the game, which is
That's so cool.
yeah, that's really cool. The fact that a company like EA would be behind or let them, right, because they're publishing the game. It's like, yeah, you know what? The other player doesn't have to own the game. We'd let them play it for free, because so you could play the whole game for free if you played it with somebody who bought the game. I'm just so impressed with it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that EA is really cool with sharing that game, because they are the reason we don't have an Xbox Family Plan.
Well, I mean,
They don't want people to share Game Pass.
yeah,
And
maybe
Microsoft's
they look at, because remember when It Takes Two came out, the friend pass was only transferable on the platform you bought the game on. So if you bought it on Xbox, you can only invite people on Xbox. If you bought it on Steam, you can only invite people on Steam. If you bought it on PlayStation, you can only invite people on PlayStation. With this one, they open it up, and maybe they looked at the sales of It Takes Two, because I think they said it's sold 23 million copies, which is incredible. I think they also said it became quite a big hit in China. So, okay, now it's like, because I think right now this is a better game overall than It Takes Two. But granted, 5 hours in, a lot more left to play the game, because I think the game's like 12 hours. And maybe they thought, like, okay, well, we believe in the game now, so let's open it up. The fact that I can invite a PlayStation player or someone on Steam to play it with me and they can play for free is unheard of, Like, they must really believe in it to let it open up that much, instead of just keeping it within the user base of where you bought the game. This, I don't know, I was thinking, like, this could be a game, you and Andy could play.
Yeah, me and Andy actually did play It Takes Two a little bit.
Yeah.
So, maybe we give it another go. Kind of want to finish It Takes Two first, though, maybe. But yeah, I'll give it a go. It sounds good.
No, but dude, it's more than good. Like, I got a smile on my face when I'm playing. I'm thinking of, like, obviously one of the drawbacks about co-op is you can only play when, you have the other person. So it's like, I gotta wait. It's like, I want to play tonight, but he's got his girlfriend coming over, so he won't be able to. It's like, oh, got it. But I like sitting here right now. I'm thinking about what crazy stuff we're gonna see next, right? What ridiculous, over the top co-op shenanigans are we gonna see in the rest of the game? Because there's some just awesome shit you do in this game, and it's constantly moving. It doesn't really do one thing for long, and then both players always gets to do something super cool. So even if you played as player one and you beat the game, you could essentially play it again as player two, just to see, like, what they're doing, right? Like, because in the third level, the second player basically got to control the level, where I'm, like, as player one, being the ape, going through the level, jumping up the thing, but the second player was turning the level, extending platforms, making sure I was able to jump and climb and on the stuff on the ceiling. So, like, they were controlling all that and making sure that I was able to get through the platforming segments by controlling the obstacles and all the stuff with it. It was like, that's cool. I got to play the part as the monkey getting to the end, but it's like, oh, I kind of want to experience what it'd be like to actually control that. So, like, you're always getting something cool as each character to do constantly, because they're always changing things up. But well deserved. Like, I can't keep enough praise on it, and apparently it only gets better. So, but yeah, right now my game of the year, and I haven't even finished it. But your most anticipated game of 2025 came out, Monster Hunter Wilds, the game you've been looking forward to for a long time.
Oh no,
Monster Hunter Wilds, and you gave the game an 8, which was a surprise, because I thought, honestly, I thought
I
you were going to
was
give the game before you started playing it. I'm like, this is easy 9 or an easy 5 stars for Jez. It's Monster Hunter Wild. It's his favorite franchise. It's Capcom, the Cap Gods. I'm like, this is, and then you started playing it and you started talking to me about it, and you gave the game an 8. But
dude.
you did have some
I
criticisms
was
about how the game is too easy and stuff, and people started to kind of attack you
yeah.
for your opinion about it. And so, what's the word about Monster Hunter Wilds? It's selling extremely well. 8 million copies in 3 days,
Yeah.
biggest ever for a Capcom game.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's doing really well. I'll be honest with you, Rand. I was almost going to give it a 7.
ooh, the
And
dreaded 7.
yeah, I was almost considering giving it 7, and it was a tough one to review. I actually wasn't planning to review it. Right. One of my colleagues was planning to review it. Someone who's got like 1,000 hours in Monster Hunter World was planning to review it. However, they were so depressed about the game that they felt they couldn't give it an objective review anymore. So I was kind of like, okay, well, I'll do it then. So I was really disappointed by Worlds. But I also recognized when I was writing the review that the things that I'm disappointed about potentially are fairly subjective. So I didn't punish the score too much because I kind of realized that the difficulties, at least to some degree, is probably intentional to get more players in. And, clearly that was a design goal for them, and it's clearly paid off, right? Because look at the sales, right? But I do think there's a serious issue with Monster Hunter Wilds. A few serious issues with Wilds because of how easy they've made it. The gameplay loop kind of falls apart because if you don't need to learn the monsters, you don't need to grind the gear, you don't need to, learn to play. All it is a boss rush game at that point. They don't really use the open world for anything. There's no monster battles that require you to travel across the entire world. So it's like, what's the point of it being overworld? There's no point. There's no point in it being open world at all, really. A lot of the new features, arguably detrimental to the game. Like they've added a mount. The mount automatically walks to the enemies for you, so you don't even have to think to do any hunting, which again defeats the point of Monster Hunter for me. The mount can also save you from danger, which again takes the bite out of the enemies and the combat. And also the game, because of how easy it was, I was done with the game in 2 or 3 days. So, even though there's not a huge amount less content than there was in there wasn't a ton less content than there was in World. It's the same amount of monsters, roughly. I think there's 1 less monster in Wild. Because of how easy it was, I was done with it really quick. And, and this is me clearing the whole game, high rank, all the tempered monsters in the game, everything. No reason to carry on playing, And I did it without grinding gear. I did it without learning any of the bosses. I didn't need to learn the bosses because they're so easy. I didn't need to grind any gear because I didn't need to fight the monster's weaknesses. I didn't need to make special sets which block blights or block elemental attacks or anything like that because all the attacks were really weak and easy to mitigate. There was only like 1 guaranteed one-shot attack in the whole game. And that was, MMO style mechanic where you have to hide behind a rock to avoid it. Really basic. So, yeah, I was overall super disappointed. And, and this is without talking about the performance issues, because obviously I played it on Xbox. I played it in resolution mode because the game is ugly as hell on performance mode. I couldn't tolerate those jaggies, baby, and those crushed textures. It does seem like they sacrificed texture quality for the open world, but it was pointless to have done that because they don't use the open world for anything. So yeah, I was super disappointed in it, man. But I realized that a lot of my disappointment stems from the fact that Monster Hunter World was just a more engaging game because of the way it was designed. But I think the way it designed made it niche. So I kind of appreciate that maybe they didn't want it to be niche anymore. And it seems a lot of people are enjoying it for what it is, you know. But I think Capcom are going to find that the game drops off incredibly quickly because there's no reason to keep playing because it's so easy. It's like before you had to learn the bosses and it was rewarding to make an armor set designed to face off against that specific monster, you know. It's like, okay, well, for this monster, I'm going to get earplugs because he roars too much. For this monster, I'm going to get blight resistance because he sprays poison gas all over the place or whatever, you know, whatever the weakness exploitation might be. But yeah, I was devastated, to be honest. I was so disappointed. But yeah, it's whatever, you know. You can't win them all. But I do think Capcom's looking at that feedback because one of the things they immediately came out with was basically saying like there's going to be a new rank of difficulty in the first title update in April. So I think they kind of realized that the more core players are gonna find that the longevity of the game's damaged because of the way it's been designed.
Okay.
They're hoping for a meaty game they can play for months or at least a few weeks. But it's just not like that right now. So we'll see what the game looks like after a few updates. But I'm surprised how quickly I've put it down. I really am. I was expecting that to be my game for March, basically. And I was done with it in 3 or 4 days. Completed, done absolutely everything you can possibly do in the game.
Jeez.
So it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, without achievement hunting. I don't achievement hunt, but I killed all the main bosses there is in the game. So whatever. That was but there is another game that I've been playing that the more I play it, the more I think it might be one of my favorite games of all time.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
Hollow Knight.
Ooh, good old Hollow Knight. Yeah, that's a great game.
So that's been my sort of travel game. I play it on the Lenovo Legion Go. I've been playing it, and I played it in Hawaii. I played it on the airplane. I play it in airports. It's kind of like the game I play when I'm traveling, and I think I'm pretty near the end now. I've only got like one boss icon on the map left before I fight the main bad guy. The further I've got in that game, the more I just think this game is so special. It's just so special. Fantastic game, man. And every time I think like I'm getting near the end, there'll be like a whole new area of the map opens up. I'm like, oh shit, there's even more here. So good, man. So cool.
You know,
Didacta Bruh says, Jez is jinxing the Silk Song for the
yeah, I was gonna say like, now the game won't release until you finish it. So who knows when you'll finish it?
Yeah, I mean, the next time I go traveling, next time I'm gonna play it probably. Oh dear.
Yeah.
So one of that, I'm going traveling again, the end of the month.
What?
It shouldn't yeah. I'm only going back to the UK, so it won't. I'm going on Monday. It won't disrupt the podcast. But so yeah, when I go traveling, then maybe I'll finish it off. I can kill the last boss in an airport or something.
Okay.
Fantastic game.
Yeah, Hollow Knight's great. We've been waiting forever for Silk Song, and who knows when it will come out. Maybe it'll be at the Nintendo Direct in April. Maybe they wanted to launch it on Switch too. I mean, that's kind of just hopium, but what are you gonna do? But dude,
I'm let them cook, man. Like,
sure,
let them make something truly special. I'll wait like a million years for that shit. People have been waiting a long time for it. I appreciate it, but
I know I already talked about it, but like,
it's worth the wait.
Dude, I'm loving like Split Fiction, bro. Like, it is so good. It is so good.
There's so much cool shit to play, man.
Like, I definitely think it's like, dude, this game's locked for Game of the Year contender. Like, absolutely, 100%. And I know this may sound
I'll try it, man. I'll try it.
I think it's more like last year's Game of the Year, Astrobot, which I really enjoyed. I didn't really think it was Game of the Year, but whatever. Opinions, right?
There'll be one game that I'll talk about next week that I think a lot of outlets did previews of last week, which was Claire Obscure 33. I didn't realize I had a preview code in my inbox. So I hadn't used the code, but I have used the code now. So I'll talk about that next week. But that got glowing.
Yeah,
That got some
people
glowing
really liked
previews,
it.
man.
But my
Yeah.
point I was saying about Astrobot being, game of the year last year, and I liked it. It wasn't my game of the year, but honestly, I'm enjoying Split Fiction way more than I enjoyed Astrobot. Now maybe that's because of the co-op angle, which is a completely unique thing. But and maybe it's wrong to even compare the two. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, Astrobot was a lot of fun, like the creativity and all that stuff, but like, man, I'm just having way more fun with Split Fiction. So
I've gone back to World of Warcraft.
now I'm even trying to think like what could even, break out, do better than Split Fiction for me this year. And I mean, there's Metal Gear and there's other games or whatever, but it's like it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough because this game is just.
Isn't there a new Pokemon coming out?
Who cares? Who gives a shit about a new Pokemon?
No, did you see the gameplay clip
Nope.
they released?
Nope.
Everyone clowning on it?
I did not. I don't care about Pokemon.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are starting to realize they can't actually make it.
And actually, they can because people will complain and then they'll fucking buy the game and millions of copies, and Pokemon Company will just be like, we don't need to change shit. So
maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
It'd just
I
be
mean,
like,
dude, the game looks indie as hell. The footage they released. I was like, if PlayStation or Xbox tried to release a game like this in one of their biggest franchises, they will get absolutely crucified. Pokemon Company does it, and they sell 10 million copies.
yeah, because
terrible,
maybe it's just the hardcore on Twitter and social media that are the ones bitching about it, but regular people, the people that actually buy the Pokemon stuff, they don't care. They just want to be able to, catch Pokemon or copy Pal World, Maybe.
Well, that's what people were saying, because the whole thing with the next Pokemon is it's got real-time combat instead of turn-based. So everyone's like, oh my god, Nintendo copied Pal World. Pal World should sue Nintendo. That's kind of stuff now. I think Pal World really fried Nintendo's brain, even though it's a much smaller franchise. I don't know. It's all fun and games in the gaming universe, bro.
Well, we got a super chat here from RDX on Effect. We got two of them. He says, rumors Starfield DLC called Starborn coming, which, yeah, I mean.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
But I mean, that's the thing called Starborn. That's an old rumor. I mean, I know it's like coming up again, but.
They trademarked it, right?
Yeah, but, that's what people have been calling the next DLC anyways. And he also says, Tariff wars are here. I expect consoles and hardware to increase drastically. I also think software will increase as well. Your thoughts, gents? Love Xbox too. We sort of talked a little bit about it earlier in the show. I guess it all just depends on how serious the tariffs are, how long they last. Because some of them are already kind of getting walked back, or there's been exceptions. So who knows if they actually have a lasting impact? Like they could be here for a month and then they'll get rid of them. But if it's a long-term thing, then yeah, it'll have some impact. Like if everything from overseas in China and all those places that's where the consoles are made. So if it's not something
that's impact in America.
What do you mean? What?
We're not tariffing China.
Sure, you won't, but the largest video game market in the world is the United States of America. So.
It won't be the largest video game market anymore.
Well,
and also, I think it's projected to not be, even without the tariffs. China's going to take over America very soon.
Oh yeah, good old yeah. So I mean, it all depends. Like the physical software stuff that depends on Mexico and where they make the games, and I think developers and publishers they'll just stop making physical games and use that as maybe the reason to go all digital. But like I said,
use it as an excuse.
We'll see if it actually sticks, because maybe it won't. But the thing about Starfield, yeah, that's a interesting point, because people have been wondering what's going on, where are the updates.
Because they had this whole thing with Starfield, didn't they? Where they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have updates every few weeks about the game," and it's like they have done updates where it's like, oh, here's the latest cool mod that someone made, but it's like, I don't want mods. I want you to fix the base game,
S-
or
s-
add more stuff to the base game or whatever.
So
Like,
someone on Twitter came out and said this is great. Because like Starfield tweeted out, history in the making. Members of the Starfield community had the privilege of attending launch last week. See, I am 2 Athena's Landing live. Which okay, and then someone says this is great. I love Starfield to bits. I'm still playing the game to this day, but you really need to start communicating on what's happening with the next update and DLC, please and thank you. To which Starfield quote retweeted and says, "We know you're eager for an update, and we truly appreciate your passion for Starfield. The team has been hard at work, and while we're not ready to share specific details just yet, we have a lot of exciting things planned for the game this year that we can't wait to talk about when the time is right. We're always listening and taking your feedback to heart. Thanks for being part of this journey with us." So it's more just like, hey, hold on, we're working on it. Let us cook. Um, we got some
the
things
thing
we
that
want to do this
frustrates
year.
me, yeah, the thing that frustrates me so much about Starfield is the unrealized potential. Like,
Yeah.
the game is like, the base game's good, like, but like as soon as you step outside, at least for me, I don't know if this is on base or not, but at least for me, when you step outside of the main quest, that's when the game starts falling apart. It's like the main quests are really great and cinematic and have really great moments and really great handcrafted areas, which can be really breathtaking. I remember when I went to that it's like a mech graveyard planet as part of one of the main quests.
Mm-hmm.
Think it
Yep.
was the quest with the, I can't remember the name of it now. Was it US? I can't remember. But I was like mind blown. I was like, this is absolutely amazing. This looks so cool. But then when you try and do like anything that's more what you might associate with a Skyrim or a Fallout, where it's like, I'm gonna go off and do some random exploring by myself, that's when the game starts really falling apart. And it's like, the exploration aspect of Starfield is really flat. And I think that's like the one area of the game which I think people are crying out for them to improve upon, and the one area of the game where they've not really made much of a recognizable effort. So hopefully I really want Starfield to have this long tail where it's like becomes a success story, I suppose, or have a redemption arc with the wider community. Because I think Fallout 4 had some of that to some degree. Because Fallout 4 was criticized for the linearity of its narrative, whereas like your yeah, UC Vanguard quest. Thanks, chat. Um, but yeah, Fallout 4 was criticized for the linearity of its narrative, where it's like your decisions didn't really matter. So in the DLC, they tried to address some of that, and then Fallout 4 had some of the best DLC that Bethesda's ever made. I kind of want to see Starfield have a similar redemption arc with its DLC, but for some reason, it's just feels like it's been really slow. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder if they feel they need to kind of like give it its like Cyberpunk 2.0 moment, or where
Yeah,
they
sort
where
of
they
build it
have
up.
like a significant update that makes changes to the game and then combine it with like an expansion, like how Phantom Liberty did for Cyberpunk, where there's like kind of that thing, like that, where they kind of like build off of each other and have
Yeah.
that moment where, okay, yeah, this is what we want. I sort of, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they're like, all right, well, give us time. We got things planned this year. We're working on stuff, and maybe that's why they've gone quiet, is because of, like, some of that stuff maybe takes a lot longer to do than other things.
Hmm.
There's rumors about a potential PlayStation Port 2 at some point later this year or next year or what have you. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, am I fiending for more Fallout? No, not at all. Like, I enjoyed my playthrough of the game. I'm not a Bethesda head, so to me, like, I played it. I got kind of exactly what I wanted on it, And it's funny because Avowed gave me the exploration that I kind of wanted from Starfield, but Starfield didn't have. It was in Avowed because Avowed kind of very much had the exploration of Oblivion or Skyrim, where it's very densely packed, so there was always something to do really close by in all the different areas, which is
Baldur's
why.
Gate felt like that.
What?
Baldur's Gate 3 felt like that too.
Okay.
Where like you got off the main path and it's like, oh, there's shit here to do.
Yeah, there's always like this, and I felt like Starfield missed that, but that's not. It wasn't like the reason I was playing Starfield. It was like, oh, like Elder Scrolls is that's like it's maybe one of its main selling points is like there's always you go off to do something here, but you see something on the right hand side like a temple, you go in there, and then it's like, oh, I was gonna do the main story, but I got sidetracked for 5 hours. But with Starfield and the way the planets are set up, it's like you really didn't have, outside of just I'm gonna go explore this planet because I'm an explorer and this is space, but there wasn't any reason to explore the planets. Which is fine by me because that just let me just do what I want in the game, where I was just like, I just really dug the main story and I dug the faction quests.
I think what the game really needed was some more dynamic point of interest delivery systems, where it's like, if you land on a cool random planet, that there is some cool handcrafted quest that appears on that planet, kind of like because there were moments in Starfield like that where it's like you're flying in space and you get a distress signal, and then there is this sort of handcrafted quest which might be on a space station or something like that. There just wasn't enough of them. I was like, I would go hours and hours and hours without finding something interesting, which is not really what I want from a role playing experience. So I really think if they just double down on that aspect of it, I think it could easily redeem itself. But I don't know.
Yeah, see, the thing is, like, I don't know how you add, I guess you could add more of those things in the game.
Yeah, do it.
Do you add co-op? Is that something that people would want?
No.
Like you add like a multiplayer element to the game where like, oh, now you're searching the universe. See, I don't know. I sort of wonder what even like a big update that would significantly change the game in people's lives what would that even entail? And because like. Is it an expansion that would be like, oh, look at this, the Starborn expansion, like, oh, this expansion comes out, it's 20 hours long, and it's like so amazingly cool. Does that change people's thoughts on the game? Is that something that people are looking for? Because the first expansion, Shattered Space, they reviewed horribly. I think it was like a 50 something on Metacritic, and I played through it and I thought it was pretty bad myself. And I was just like, oh man, this isn't what people want from Starfield. So I wonder if they're just taking their time and being like, this is the things we need to do, things we need to improve. Because
go to the next level.
Yeah. So they got their. I guess the thing is, let them cook because they got some things planned for 2025. The game that will never die, Jez. The game that will never die. Scalebound's back in the news. Scalebound. Which, come on, like, we thought that was dead. People hadn't been mentioning it at all recently. And suddenly, Kamiya's like, let's do Scalebound. Like, I forget how the story even really started. Let me see. I can find it. Okay, so, yeah, Clover's latest tweet shows Kamiya and other staff crowded around a monitor as they watch YouTube videos of early Scalebound footage. Quote, noted some excitement around Kamiya's desk, the tweet reads. He was reminiscing about the development of Scalebound while watching YouTube videos. It never made it to release, but even now he still feels proud of it. And then he, quote, retweeted and says, let's do it, Phil. And I'm just like, oh man, are we really going to get a Scalebound revival? What do you? Is this
Man,
really something that like could actually legitimately happen? I mean, he's in a new company. He's at Clover's. They're doing Akami 2. If he really wanted to do Scalebound, and Phil was still around, you know, because Phil's gonna retire at some point, right? I don't know when Akami 2 is coming out, but is that something that Xbox and Microsoft would do? Like, because we know Phil brought together Team Ninja.
It'd be a great story, man.
It would be. He brought together Team
story.
Ninja and Platinum to do Ninja Gaiden 4. And I know Nick had a rumor about how Scalebound might be back in development, and you know, Kame was at Platinum. Xbox, we know Xbox is working with him to bring the Ninja Gaiden 4 back together. So it's like, is it possible they were working on it already? But now he left. He's forming Clovers. And it's like, okay, is this it? If he wants to do it, if Kamiya wants to do it, could it actually happen? Would Xbox be interested in it, or is the name just sullied beyond being salvageable? Or could they turn it and be like, oh well, actually, you know what? It's been some time since the last Scalebound. Akami 2 was a big success.
Since the last Scalebound?
Well, I mean, it's nobody's really thought of Scalebound since then. It's been, 10, 12 years since people have even seen it, since like the last E3. So maybe there's not that negative stigma attached to it anymore. Kamiya just released, Akami 2 to great acclaim and success. And if he really, really wanted to do it, let's do it with him. Is that something that could happen? I mean, it'd be crazy to think that maybe.
I think it could happen, bro.
You think so?
I think it could happen. Yep. I think it could happen. Even though Kamiya blocked me on Twitter,
he blocks everybody.
It could happen, bro.
That'd be crazy if it actually does happen.
I'd like to see it happen.
Oh man, that would be nuts. I mean, maybe it'd be finally on the.
If they do it, they've got to revamp the main character. That's the only thing.
Well, at least it would probably run properly because it ran very choppily back on the Xbox One. So you figured it would at least be
choppily.
The frame rate was very bad in those showings, and the game just didn't show off well. Like I remember,
I heard the reason it was bad is because they hadn't worked with Unreal Engine before, and Microsoft had insisted on it. Apparently,
So okay, if we're thinking this could happen, when are we looking at? Does it come out before Fallout 5, Jez? What comes out first, Fallout 5 or Scalebound?
There's pie in the sky, but this is like next level. What's beyond pie in the sky?
I don't know. What is beyond?
Souffle in the stratosphere? I don't fucking know. Oh, man. I don't fucking know. You're asking me to fucking go beyond the crystal ball, man. You need Microsoft's quantum processor to figure that one out, dude.
It's crazy. It's certainly possible we might see it at some point, but only if Kamiya really wants to do it. Maybe he just said that, so...
For funsies.
Yeah. Could you imagine, like, 2032 comes along and it's like, Scalebound's back. Would Xbox... We'll be doing a podcast in 7 years?
Hell yeah. I'm down.
2032. Because this is going to be our 8th year of podcast in April.
Oh, it's officially my 10-year anniversary at Windows Central as of yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
10 years I've been at Windows Central. 10 years
at Windows Central.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Crazy.
It's a long time.
I really didn't think I'd hold down a job that long.
10 years is a full-on decade.
Yeah.
I mean, going all the way back
to
of my life, 2015.
Yep. Back when Windows Phone was still alive.
Now,
God rest its soul.
I saw your tweet about Tony Hawk 3 and 4. So I figure it's a thing to bring up because while you were gone, they teased it and they revealed it. And now it has a release date and people were hyped about it, but now people are mad about it.
Oh, why they mad?
So Tony Hawk 3 and 4, they revealed it. The trailer's out. New parks, new skaters, new blah, 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 right? It's coming July 11th. It's also got a Doom Slayers in it, so it's kind of got that synergy going on there between Xbox, the Xbox publishers, Xbox studios, Tony Hawk, Activision branded, Doom, Bethesda branded, boom, together again. Granted,
what we asked them to do, right?
so Doom has a game this year. Tony Hawk's coming out in July, but you can skate as the Doom Slayer or I think one of the demons, and it's pretty cool. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what you should be doing in more of your stuff. So it's on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, PC, Xbox Game Pass day one. I don't know if they announced it for Switch, or maybe the announcement for the Switch 2 version is coming whenever, all this stuff starts to get announced for it. People seem to be happy because it looks cool, and I'm not really a Tony Hawk fan. I think I played maybe Tony Hawk 1 and 2, but I didn't play 3 and 4. And I'm not sure I played like Underground. So it's like I've never been like a skate gamer, bro. Like
a skater boy.
Yeah, I've never been that. And I know people love them. I know my buddy Maka like loves the Tony Hawk games and stuff. I just never was really a fan of them. So it's like cool.
I played it religiously when I was a kid, but I'm not interested as a growing up.
I'm happy for my Tony Hawk bros out there. There's a lot more of Tony Hawk bros out there than there are Banjo bros. And, Iron Galaxy's making the game, which people were wondering who's going to make this game because Vicarious Visions became like Blizzard Albany or whatever they were. They got absorbed into the Blizzard machine. So it's like, well, who's going to make this game? And it's like, all right, Iron Galaxy's making it. And everybody was happy. It was like, okay, the multiple versions of the game. I think there's like a $100 version of the game that comes with everything. It's like, okay, cool. Another game that Xbox is putting out. And there's even a chance Xbox might, starting in April, that Xbox might put out a game like every single month from then on. Because I was looking at it, you got April with South of Midnight. May has Doom. The rumors suggest that Oblivion. Wait, what did I say? I said April's South of Midnight, Doom is May. Rumors suggest Oblivion remake is June. Tony Hawk is July. Rumors, which we'll talk to later, suggest that Gears of War is August. And then you have, for the end of the year, Outer Worlds 2, Ninja Gaiden 4, and Call of Duty. So if you say Ninja Gaiden September, Outer Worlds 2 October, Call of Duty November, they'll basically have, 8 months in a row with at least a single game release, not including the releases they're also putting out on PlayStation and Switch, like Forza Horizon 5, Indiana Jones, Age of Mythology, and whatever games they have for the Switch launch and lineup for the rest of the year. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive, and that's kind of like what we thought would maybe happen, years ago when we were like, oh, Microsoft bought Blizzard, or Microsoft bought Bethesda, and they bought Activision Blizzard. Well, at some point, they got so many studios that they're just going to have so many games. And I think we kind of thought maybe it would come earlier than 2025, but, it is what it is, and it's finally here. So that all could potentially happen. But I guess Kotaku or somebody came out and they confirmed that they're ditching the campaign mode for Tony Hawk 4. Which, to be fair, I don't know anything about the campaign mode. And all I do is I saw it on Twitter, and people were just saying that's a major L. Like, they ruined Tony Hawk. How could they do this?
It's over.
Yeah. So
Jova.
Like I said, I didn't play Tony Hawk 4 or 3, so I don't know how important the campaign is. I guess if you're someone who really loved those games back then and the campaign was a big part of it, I think it was like a campaign where you could ride around the parks and then start doing tricks in like 2-minute intervals, but I guess they're just copying what they did with Tony Hawk 1 and 2, which is like you have 2 minutes to do as many tricks as you possibly can or something. So I have seen people are disappointed by it. What do you think? Good idea, bad idea, dumb idea?
Well, we've seen from like stuff like the Grand Theft Auto HD remakes that not being faithful to fan expectations can really bite you in the ass, right? But
That's
honestly,
sure.
a bit like you, I don't have a lot of context because I haven't played them myself. So I stopped at Tony Hawk 2, I guess. Played Tony Hawk 2 as a kid. Enjoyed it for what it was. I don't have as much nostalgia for it, I think, as a lot of other people do. But yeah.
Are you going to play this one when it comes out in July? You know, give it a roll. You're not even going to give it a roll.
I don't think so.
Did you play
Not my cup of tea.
Did you play Tony Hawk 1 and 2?
I briefly played 1, I think, just for nostalgia. But like I say, not that hyped about it.
Okay. I mean, fair enough. I'm probably not going to play it either. Juan with the $50 super chat. Thank you. He says, Starfield had some good side quests, but the game is so big that it feels like nothing in comparison. Also, all the planets had the same abandoned lab and stuff. It was too repetitive. I hope to add more side quests and multiplayer with PvP. Yeah, because it was just like, what do they do? How do they improve Starfield in the eyes of the players where it could have a redemptive arc? Right? Because I don't really think you can get rid of all the loading screens in between the stuff, and I don't think you can really change how you interact with the planets and you go to them and think. It's got to be something else. Could it be the multiplayer? Could it be PvP? Could it be co-op? Is it just a way more side quests like Jez was talking about? Or I don't really know what a quote-unquote 2.0 update could be, or what its 2.0 moment could be, where it's like, okay, yeah, like we took all the feedback, and this is kind of the version we wanted to make with everything going on here. And now Starfield, instead of being like, mixed reception on Steam, is now like, hey, mostly positive, and people really seem to enjoy it. Because like you said, they said they had plans to do, because I think it was Todd Howard on with Mr. Matty, where they planned to release an expansion every year for a while. So, yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see with what they do with it. And they said they're going to talk to us later. Does that mean showcase? Do we get something at the showcase about the next Starfield improvements and updates, or is this something they'll eventually drop on their own socials and maybe have a stream about it or something? I don't know. I mean, I would expect there to be another expansion later this year, but is it going to be better received than Shattered Space was? I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
A good question for you, Jez. When do you think Indiana Jones is going to release on PlayStation?
I would have thought like April, but
I mean, you figured
cutting it close, right?
I mean, you figured, well, because you got Forza Horizon.
Spring is May still.
Well, April, May, and June, but also because I think you were expecting Hellblade 2 to get announced for PlayStation in February, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
For whatever reasons, because Hellblade's supposed to come, and even if you look at Hellblade will be a year later, so sometime in May, but it's like we got Forza Horizon 5 on the 29th, and then Doom Dark Ages on the 15th of May. It's you sort of don't want to release all your games on top of each other, because you're only competing with yourself in that space. So it sort of feels like Indiana Jones should come out beginning of April, but it certainly can't come in between Forza and Doom. And it almost then seems like, well, if you wait a little bit longer, it's June, when you don't really see a lot of games released in June or July. And then you're towards the end of the year, so it's like, I sort of wonder, if there's been any shifting, because if you imagine if it's coming in April, then they should be an announcement soon. If not, then I don't know when. Same thing with Fable, or same thing with Hellblade. I would guess. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with that. But yes, Gears of War collection rumors that have been persisted for 3 years at this point. I know Special Nick is probably salivating because one of his rumors gets to turn out to be right potentially.
Well, they say about broken clock, right?
Oh, bro, you can't go at Nick like that, bro.
That's but I love you, Nick.
There's a new rumor that's going around with this. So the rumor is the Gears of War collection. I mean, Ecstasis talked about this, and then Detective Seeds on Twitter, which a lot of he's getting sourced a lot in these articles. That the Gears collection is supposed to be revealed at this year's showcase. Gears E-Days 2026. And that the Gears collection, at least according to Detective Seeds, is going to be launching sometime in mid-August, August timeframe. And I guess the big revelation is that it doesn't have any multiplayer. Which people are definitely talking about because... yeah, so I guess... Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go? About this.
You go first.
So,
my dude.
Me and Nate the Hate talked about this back in January. Because we both sort of expected Gears Collection to come this year, and then we were like, well, the rumors are still Gears E-Day might be this year. I mean, Tom Warren had been banging on the drum about Gears E-Day coming out in 2025 since it was revealed last year. Tom Warren usually ends up being right most of the time, so it was just kind of strange that he was always like, potentially Gears E-Day, but I know if it doesn't happen, he'd be like, I never said it would happen. It said potentially, right? It got delayed or what have you, right? And it didn't really make sense to me to release the Gears Collection and E-Day in the same year. So if you do release Gears Collection this year, and then you release E-Day next year, that's how I always had envisioned it, was like you release the collection first, and then you release E-Day. But at the time, before we knew it was E-Day, we all thought it was Gears 6. But now it's E-Day, which is actually a prequel. So it's like, do you need collection out before a prequel? Not necessarily, but I think you do want people to get accustomed to Marcus and Dom as characters and their journey, so that you'd be invested in seeing how it began, instead of just like, hey, this prequel's the starting point. And my thought was like, okay, if you do the collection and you have the multiplayer, which, people have been clamoring for, like the old school Gears multiplayer stuff. And then maybe 2 years later, you have Gears E-Day, and then that releases and has the multiplayer and the Horde and all that stuff. I thought it could work. But it definitely seems like that timeline's been condensed to like, okay, Gears collections this year, E-Days next year, just a year. And my thought process, as well as Nate's, was, well, maybe the collection just doesn't have multiplayer, and it's just the campaign, because when E-Day comes out, it'll have the full suite of everything. It'll have the campaign, the co-op campaign, it'll have the Horde stuff, it'll have the multiplayer, and why split the base? Why split the base of the people who are playing the collection with the old multiplayer that probably doesn't have any microtransactions or battle passes or whatever, right? Because it's just the old Gears of War stuff, when all that stuff will be new in the new Gears. So to me, I was just kind of I was looking at it from Microsoft's perspective, of maybe even Coalition's perspective, of like, okay, we're releasing this game this year, and we're releasing the next game next year, but we have the multiplayer and all that stuff. We don't want a situation where half of the players are on the old game that doesn't have any, post-monetization, and then half the players are on this one. Because you know how, like, in my mind, I envision it in a scenario where people are going to play the multiplayer for E-Day, and there's going to be probably bitching and screaming about, oh, it used to be better back in Gears 1, 2, and 3, or, people always complain when new iterations of multiplayer games they like come out, right, from franchises. There's always new complaints. So I just thought, well, maybe you just give them the campaign and you don't have any multiplayer, and then when the multiplayer comes out, the only place to get it is on E-Day. At least that was my thought process, looking at it from the business side of things at Microsoft and Coalition. Detective Seed says that I guess he has a friend who's a PlayStation engineer who can see things in the back end and says it's there, but it also has it listed for no multiplayer and all that sort of stuff. So then I'll throw it to you. So since you have my thoughts on it, and I know you have been trying to track down information about this game. One, if it actually is real, because that has been a thing since 2022. And then two, if it is real, does it have multiplayer? And I think you tweeted out that there might be some misinformation floating about the game or what have you. So, what is your stance now? What do you got to say?
Yeah, so I can't remember where exactly, but I had it rattling around in my head that it didn't have that I had a rumor that it didn't have multiplayer. So when I saw that rumor come out, it was like, oh well, no smoke without fire, right? But I was also traveling at the time, so I thought, okay, well, I'll park this for now, and I'll try and figure out, what's accurate and what's not, and try and get some proper sourcing on it, because I was considering writing it up because of that it was rattling around in my head that this was a thing, but I couldn't remember where I got that information from. So I ended up like asking around, and sometimes I can debunk things pretty easily, right?
Yeah.
When it's big misinformation going around, I got some sources that are really eager to put a kibosh on it. But I think because this rumor didn't go around it didn't go around that far. I think it
Well,
was tough
one
for me
because the
to.
game's not even announced yet. I mean,
Yeah, it's
some
not
people
even
may even think
announced.
it's real. You know that. So
Yeah, exactly. So, um, so because it's like it's so vague and so far out, it's hard to get like any sort of real sourcing on whether or not this was a thing. Because, like I say, the Gears collection, we're not even sure if it actually is a thing yet. So basically, all I could get was there's some misinformation in this rumor. Um, don't know which aspect of it was misinformation,
I mean,
but as
could be the August release date. Could be the
yeah,
could
could
be
be the
the no
PvP aspect.
multiplayer. I think he even said that it was like labeled single player only, meaning there would be no campaign co-op, which would be really fucking weird.
Yeah, so this is the thing with store listing, right? The store listing can be updated. So it's not like if it's in the PlayStation backend showing a single player only, let's assume that's true. They can just update that to say, oh, okay, no, it's no longer single player only. Because I'm telling you now, there is no chance in hell that game ships without co-op. No
Yeah,
chance in
I would
hell.
agree. If it did ship with co-op, I'd be like, what the fuck you doing? Like that.
No, but seriously, it's beyond that. I actually think like this is like a remaster. It would be more work to remove co-op from the game than just leave it in, you know? So that just kind of puts a big question mark over the whole thing in general, right? Because obviously it's gonna have co-op. Gears is co-op,
I mean, Gears kind of
you know.
started the whole co-op trend, did it not?
Yeah, Gears is co-op, so that is a ridiculous kind of notion, I think. Furthermore, I think in that same kind of vein, if it is a port, not a full remake, more like a remaster, it will be more work potentially to just remove the multiplayer aspects of it. If it's there, just leave it in, And to your point of like not wanting to split the player base or whatever, my rebuttal would be, what player base? There's not a huge amount of people playing Gears. So I kind of feel like Microsoft wouldn't be too worried about micromanaging where people want to play their Gears of War. If there's only like 400 people playing, keeping Gears community alive and active on Gears 1 and 2, I think they're fine with that, especially since the code's already there. Why remove it? And why I'm worrying about splitting the player base when the player base is already so damn small, and they're not going to turn it into a free-to-play game. They don't want it to be the next Fortnite. I can't see it myself. So personally, I think that wait and see for more information, because personally, the whole single player Gears thing, I think that's a wash first and foremost, which calls into question the rest of it, right? So, but like I say, I did have a weird rumor somewhere from some corner of my brain that it wasn't gonna have PvP if it did exist. But then it was also kind of like I don't still don't have confirmation that it even exists. Game stuff doesn't come to me in a super consistent kind of way. Sometimes I'll be like, I get a ton of game stuff. Sometimes certain studios have been hard to crack. Like I've always said, I don't have any sources at Bethesda. Don't have any sources at the Coalition usually. The Halo stuff was great because they leaked it themselves through the Halo API, like the tanker and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm just taking a wait and see. I'm personally taking a wait and see approach to this Gears stuff. Personally, I don't put a ton of stock in that rumor for now, but who knows? Microsoft works in mysterious ways apparently.
Yeah, Michael Mooney with Super Chat says, "What if it's like Judgment Day and is a DLC for a collection?"
You mean the multiplayer is the DLC? I mean, that'd be a weird nickel and dime, I think, for Microsoft. But I don't think that'd go over well. So I don't know.
I think
we'll see, man.
I think there's a better chance they could remove the multiplayer than removing the co-op. I think co-op you can't remove because I think that's too integral to Gears itself.
It's Dom and Marcus.
Yeah, it's Dom and Marcus. It's their journey, and like it would be dumb. Like, is the other player going to be trolled by the bot the whole time?
Yeah, it'd be
and
dumb
I guess that's
like...
what if you play it single player, I suppose that's what happens. But I mean, who plays Gears single player? I mean, I played that shit in co-op like all the way through, so that doesn't make any sense to me. The multiplayer, like I said, I could see, but I also could see your point of, do they even really care about splitting the base? Because at least when I was looking at it from Microsoft's perspective, I was looking at it like from a business thing of, hey, these games aren't going to have any monetization, at least presumably. Like, it's old Gears multiplayer, so even if they remake it up so it looks better, like, there's no battle passes to buy, there's no skins to buy, it's just how it was back then, right?
At the end of the day, the Bleeding Edge servers are still live.
Sure.
And there's like,
but there was no, but there's no like there was no Bleeding Edge 2 coming out though. That's the whole point, is that Gears Z Day would be coming out next year with all the bells and whistles of a new Gears.
Nobody's going to be playing Gears collection in a year.
You don't think so? Even if it had multiplayer?
No, I don't.
Well, sure. I mean, if it's just a campaign, you're right. Nobody's going to be playing it in a year. So
no, but even with multiplayer, it's like, I don't think people are going to be playing it in huge numbers in a year.
Okay, so you think,
and they'll want to play the new thing, even if the old thing exists.
But weren't there? I mean,
it's like Phil even hinted himself in an interview recently. I can't remember if it was with Destin or Gamertag Radio, but he said something along the lines of, "We don't need every multiplayer game to be a Fortnite," And I honestly felt like that was an allusion to Gears of War, because I was speculating in the past, like, do you release Gears Z Day as two separate clients, where it's like the more like what they did with Halo, where it's like the multiplayer is free to play. Does every free to play game, every multiplayer game, does that have to be free to play now? And it's like, well, in the Game Pass universe, not really. And Gears has never been a super mainstream thing. It's like a cult hit. And then the PvP is like a cult hit within.
Whoa. Let's not revisionist history of this. Gears has never been a mainstream thing. Gears was one of the.
It's not a zeitgeist buster, man.
Maybe not anymore, but there was a point where Gears was one of the top games out there. Of course, we got to go back to like 2006, 2008, 2011. Now, you're right, maybe that's not the case anymore. Like, Halo was the zeitgeist at one point, and Halo's still popular, but it's not, as popular as it used to be. But I don't want to hear you say, like, Gears is some niche thing, because at one point it wasn't a niche thing. I mean, it basically created its own genre that still exists somewhat to this day. And yeah,
no,
I would give you the multiplayer's niche now. And I guess I can see your point of, yeah, would they even care? So release the Gears Z Day collection with multiplayer, and people buy it on PlayStation, buy it on Switch, and people are playing it on Xbox. But then they get tired of it because it's just the old multiplayer. But here's the new hotness a year later. that has everything and all the new stuff, and everybody just plays. So I can see your point there with like, well, they wouldn't even care because nobody would even be playing the Gears collection. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of it.
Basically told wait and see, and there's misinformation. So
I mean,
that's what I'm doing today.
You know, maybe it's like, hey, they couldn't get the multiplayer working. I don't know. I mean, there could be many reasons why you wouldn't include it. But it definitely seems.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, you know, I guess we'll see if it's. I do think it's real. I think there's enough like smoke around it to kind of be like, yeah, the collection's real. I do sort of wonder why it took so long. And you know, like you hear about AAA games taking 4, 5, 6 years to come out, and the Gears collection has been rumored for 3 years. And apparently, Tom Warren even said it existed before Nick talked about it. So it's like, are we saying this is 4 years? They've been in development for 4 years. If so, I can see why Microsoft is going multi-platform, because how the hell does a campaign improvement take 4 years to make? You know what I mean? And we know even from some of like Yoshida's comments about how like remasters are cheap to make, but they make a lot of money, so they're worth doing. And it's like a Gears collection is something that people wanted for a long time, and it's like, how does that not print money? Because I mean, everything's already there. Granted, I mean, maybe they moved to Unreal Engine 5, and okay, Gears 2's redone in Unreal Engine 5. I don't know how long that would take, but if you just like, oh yeah, so we spent 3 years and all we did was up-res the campaign, and that's how long it just seems like, well, that took an excessively long time to actually get finished. But I guess I say that as someone who has no idea how development works. Maybe it does take that long to do that stuff. So I don't know. I just sort of feel like, shouldn't a remaster of the Gears collection, if you're doing that, shouldn't that be like a painless process and not really take that long? I don't know. Maybe there's a lot more goes into it than I would think.
Maybe
Chris,
just straight up doesn't exist.
I don't think it does. I think it does. Although it would be pretty hilarious if the showcase comes and goes and there's no Gears collection, though.
It would be, wouldn't it?
That would be hilarious. Chris with the 5 says, I play Gears for single player co-op personally. Multiplayer is neat, but gets unbelievably sweaty very fast. Hopefully EDA makes it more approachable. Yeah, I was never really good at the Gears multiplayer. So
it's really hard. It's almost like a fighting game.
Yeah.
You know, where like you positioning, and it is a brutally difficult. I have a huge amount of respect for people that play that at a high level. I mean, I think it's super difficult.
Gears is your game, though, bro.
Yeah, casually so.
So I mean, let me ask you: let's assume hypothetically it's real. Are you not excited to take a jaunt through Gears 1, 2, and 3 again with your boys Marcus and Dom? Is that something?
Yeah, of course I am.
Okay, you would be, because you want to know something.
Yeah,
I'm not. But I've also said like I'm not interested in a Halo 1 remake either.
You also hate games.
No, I don't. The thing is, I played Gears, like we played Gears 1 when it came out. And I think I played through the campaign 3 times. Then I played Gears 1 again with the Ultimate Edition came out back in, what was that, 2015? Yeah, it was the year before they did Gears 4, which was 2016, right? Yeah. So then I played through it multiple times again with the Ultimate Edition. So I'm at the point now where I've probably played through the campaign of Gears 1 5 times. So, like, the idea of, hey, Gears 1, 2, and 3 are coming out again, get excited, doesn't really excite me. Just like when we've talked before about the rumors surrounding a Halo 1 remake. Halo 1 remake doesn't excite me whatsoever. I've played through Halo 1, 8 times probably. When it originally came out, a couple times when it came out for the anniversary in 2011, like 3 or 4 times when it came out in the Master Chief Collection. Like I'm just not that excited about that. I don't know. Maybe, and I know some people like, oh, Rand's a hypocrite because he was excited about the Dead Space remake or the Resident Evil 2 remake or the Resident Evil 4 remake or whatever.
That is true.
But the thing is, I never played any of those games as much as I played Halo or even Gears. Like I played Resident Evil 2 one time back when it came out in what 1990, whatever the hell it was back then, or even Resident Evil 4 in 2005 I played through once. And to be fair, they also changed it. It wasn't just a complete 1-to-1 like we'd expect this to be. It's just a remaster. So there's a part of me that's like, maybe I would be excited to play 2 or 3 again because, you know, I only played 2 and 3. Like, I played each one of those, I think, twice. So, but it's been a while. At least with like 1, I've played multiple times. So for me, it's just like, yeah, I'm not super excited about it. It's just like I wouldn't be for Halo 1. It's like, now if you did Halo 2, I'd be like, well, I'd be more excited for Halo 2. But then it's like, I also played Halo 2 a bunch. I don't know. I'm at that point where, at least with those, I kind of want something new. If you're going to remake those, then actually make changes like they did for Resident Evil 4. And then maybe that's heresy for people listening to that, or like, what? But it's just like, I played it so much where I'm just like, yeah, oh yeah, Halo 1 remake, Silent Cartographer again. I'm just like, yeah, that doesn't really do it for me anymore. I don't know. I mean,
if you like something new, I've heard good things about E-Day on that front.
yeah, I mean, Coalition Cooks, you know, next
They're
year.
They're changing it up a bit for E-Day.
Oh, they're changing it up a bit? What do you mean? Regale us with some tales of Gears E-Day.
No, I'll let you stew on that one.
You're going to let me stew on this one? What are you talking about?
Yep.
We got the podcast audience. We got the Xbox 2 MVPs in chat. We got everybody listens to the show. Everybody who's hit the like button and subscribed to the channel today, and everybody who's shared it out and super chat and supported. I think they deserve some Gears E-Day stuff. So let us know.
They're gonna stew, bro. You got to stew. Sorry, guys. And stew on that one, bro.
All right. So Gears E-Day. So so what do you feel about the rumor about like Gears E-Day baby 2025? It's pretty much you don't believe that one bit, right? Like that game's 2026.
I honestly don't know.
Well, I mean, you gotta find. I know you just got back from vacation, but you need to get back on in these circles, and you need to find stuff out. You need to cut through the rumors and everything. Come on, let's go.
You know how busy I've been since I got back. I had 750 emails.
And how many unread emails do you have right now?
I've read all of them.
So you went through all 750 of them.
Yeah, I did.
How many of them were actually important?
Maybe 10.
So, but the thing is, you're caught up now. Like, look, I'm giving you a pass because you're on vacation and you came back and there's stuff.
Thank you so much.
I'm giving you a pass, but like next week, we need new info. We need Jez back out there doing his investigative blogger stuff, finding out information about all these things. So next week we'll get Gears E-Day details. We'll get State of Decay 3 details. We'll get showcase detail. Right, like you're back on the beat. Back down, tracing down leads and stuff. That's what we're doing.
Well, maybe I'll have a nice report for you on Monday or Tuesday about that.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Hey, did you see your Game of the Year 2024, Hellblade 2, is leading BAFTA nominations with 11?
Yeah, of course it is, bro. It's the fucking BAFTAs. Yeah. They don't know anything about games.
What do you mean? Astrobot was nominated. Japanese game.
Yeah, but it's like
Hellblade 2, bro. Like, a game that you said was just walking around. 11 BAFTAs.
I'm telling you, bro. The BAFTAs is like, is it British? Give it an award. That's the BAFTAs, dude.
Oh yeah, you think so? Is that what it is?
Slightly biased.
Slightly biased.
Slightly biased.
Did you
and
see?
I say that as a Brit.
Did you see some of the like things coming out from like anonymous Oscar voters where they're like,
anonymous,
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 whatever. Shut up. That were like, I didn't even bother watching Dune 2 because I didn't like Dune 1, and I'm just like, your job is to watch these movies to give the awards to these people, and then there was a couple of them that were like, yeah, I didn't vote for Ray Fiennes to win for Conclave because he already won an Oscar. And it's like, he never won an Oscar. What are you talking about? You don't even know that. So it's like just these little things.
Oh, I did see that, yeah.
Where it was like, oh, I didn't even bother watching Dune 2, or like, I read that stuff. I'm like, this is like awful. And I sort of wonder how, like, the Game Awards stuff kind of like if there's any of that stuff too. Like there probably is where it's like I didn't even play that game. I didn't even play that game. I didn't bother. Screw that game.
Of course it is, man.
You
The
know?
Oscars is a joke. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. Does everybody know that? Chat, do you know that
Yeah,
Oscars
everyone
are a
knows that.
joke?
They're a joke. Everyone knows the Oscars is a joke.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's
Ricky Gervais told you himself, bro.
Yeah. That is true.
Good old Ricky.
I mean, Joseph Ferris did say, "Fuck the Oscars."
Yeah, he's right, man. He's right.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm getting tired. What time is it? It's midnight.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I think it's a good time to transition to Patreon questions.
Let's do it.
So you too can join the Patreon. Ask us a question. Patreon.com/XB2. Got the question and answer thread up here. Let me go through some of this stuff and see how many questions we got from the wonderful peeps. Keep in mind, hopefully next week we'll be doing either an Xbox 2+1, depending on if the guests can actually join us, or if not, we'll definitely be doing Ultimate. So
Yep.
we're probably doing a lot more than just that this month too, because we got to make up for last month.
Yeah,
So,
we're gonna have a big month on Patreon this month.
So, yeah, if you enjoyed the show, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. And here we go. We got Mr. Rave Damos saying, "Hola, gents. I want to come back to the forward compatibility team within Xbox. With the rumor of the next Xbox hardware coming 2026 and AMD's UDNA hardware likely not ready for 2026, have you heard of Xbox working with NVIDIA on hardware, first to third-party hardware? Team
No.
Green working with Team Green sure sounds like a winning formula. It would differentiate on hardware and could deliver the now infamous largest technical leap trademark ever. Happy Friday."
I would be extremely shocked if Xbox works with NVIDIA on the next console, but you know, never say never. But I think the whole thing with NVIDIA is that it's too expensive, and I also think Microsoft has an ulterior motive for supporting AMD, because I think they want to avoid NVIDIA having a total monopoly. Like when you're working with the companies that you want them to be able to bid against each other, right? So I think there's a strategic element there to some degree.
Yeah.
But
I
don't know.
also would be
crazy
shocked
things
if
have happened, right?
I would be shocked if they were working with NVIDIA, personally.
Yeah, too expensive. NVIDIA's catching heat right now because they said that the they
50
said the
series line not doing so well,
the
recalled in UK, starting fires and stuff.
Yeah, the connectors melt for one thing, which was an issue with the previous gen, but there was also this they said that the 5070 was comparable in power to a 4090, and it's just not flat out not true. You know? So
But
like,
maybe
now
it's
people
true
got
if
their
you
hands on it,
factor
it's
in
like,
AI. That's probably what they meant. You
yeah,
know?
but that's probably not. That's not the kind of impression they wanted people to have.
Yeah, well,
And then there's all
apparently,
this debates about fake frames and all that kind of shit. I don't know.
well, then the thing with AMD, isn't their new GPUs also actually pretty good and pretty cheap too?
Yeah,
Isn't it?
but like this, but this is the thing. Every single gen, it's like all the memes are like AMD's back, they're so back, and then no one fucking buys them. And everyone just sticks with Nvidia. It's the same thing every gen, man.
Yeah.
But I do think Xbox will stick with it, AMD, but who knows, man? Maybe they want to shake it up. It's like you said, they did say they want to win on hardware differentiation.
Yeah, what does
switching
that
to a
mean?
different.
They did say
What does that mean?
the largest technical leap ever. I don't know, what does that mean? They didn't say powers. They said technical. Does that mean like this thing's got AI cores and does AI stuff?
Maybe
Probably.
it has fucking qubits, dude.
Hey, you'll be able to
quantum console.
you know, when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, you know, you'll be able to tell the game to like randomly create its own quests or whatever. Boom, large technical leap ever. Basically done right there. Game system did it for you because of AI cores.
Or it's like like you're playing Starfield and you like add a co-op mod to this and it just does it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I do think like next gen, one of the things about next gen is going to be like, how do they achieve backwards compatibility? Because if they are switching to Win32, if they are switching to Win32 and a new operating system, it's more Windows oriented, obviously one of the issues there is like, what about my fucking thousands of games that I've got on my current Xbox? Are they coming along for the ride? You know, or how are you going to deliver that stuff to me? So I think like I'm really intrigued how they solve that conundrum, because I think it'd probably be a combination of emulation to some degree, but I wouldn't be surprised if some games don't end up running through the emulator and maybe they're delivered via cloud or something like that. I don't know. A lot
Yeah,
of
but the thing
questions
is, they
about
wouldn't
next
they
gen.
wouldn't be talking about that stuff until they're actually revealed what their next console is and what the plans
Yeah,
are
of course.
for. So it's like if you assume it's 2027, they probably won't even talk about that shit until 2027. So it'd be
Yeah,
still
I
like
agree.
2 years in the dark. But just be thinking about, okay, what does this look like? So we got
Yeah.
Silas. It says, "Greeting mates. Now that Jez is back from holiday, not expecting big Xbox news until the showcase. If you guys had not gamed before and decided today to start video gaming and building your digital library, what system would you start with? Caveats: you don't have a PC to game on, and you want to own your games. So it's Xbox Series, PlayStation 5, or Switch or Switch 2. So if you're saying if we had not gamed before, period, and we were gonna start today." I mean, that's a good. I don't know.
What was the question again?
If you guys had not gamed before and decided today to start your video game building or your video gaming and building your digital library, what system would you start with? Caveats: you don't have a
PC.
PC. You don't have a PC to game on, and you want to own your games. So it's Xbox Series, PlayStation 5, or the Switch 2. So basically, not including PC. So,
You know what popped into my head?
what?
You know what popped into my head? The first thing that popped into my head was I'd pick the Xbox because I think the PlayStation 5 looks silly.
Yeah. Okay.
There's probably a good a reason as any, but if I was just a dumb consumer, I was looking at both of them, and like on paper they're basically the same fucking thing, and it's like, well, one of them looks good and the other one looks like a weird flaw here.
See, I mean, this question is interesting, but it also is very dependent on maybe the age of the person. Like, if you're asking us, like, hey, Rand, you're 42, 43, you've never gamed before, and you can only choose between Series, PlayStation 5, or Switch 2, which one are you picking? You know, I'd probably be like, PlayStation 5, right? Because that's just the one, my friends maybe have it, or I see ads for it all the time, and, oh, God of War, you know what I'm saying? Like, but if, you're asking like a 15-year-old or something, they might be like, Nintendo, right? Like, I see, like, my friends like Pokemon, and like, give me a Switch.
Yeah.
So
I'd pick Xbox to be edgy. I'd be
Yeah.
like, okay, PlayStation 5 is the mainstream. I'm going to be a contrarian dick, like I was when I got my Windows phone, and I'll go for the edgy option, you know. So I'll go Xbox. Oh man, I don't know. I think Xbox. I think at its core for me, Xbox has always been a more appealing kind of brand. I think the PS5 is an ugly piece of kit, man. And if we are talking basically identical systems here, I think the Xbox just looks far better.
Okay.
So that'd tip the scales for me.
Johnny Cream says, which island were you on, Jez, and did you enjoy the whales?
We were on Oahu, and I did
Oahu.
enjoy the whales.
Okay.
We saw two humpback whales breach at the same time, which apparently is rare as hell, according to the dude on the boat. Don't know how true that is, but caught it on video. I'll probably upload that on Twitter.
Dude, I'm
when
surprised
I've
you went
pulled
in
it
there,
off my camera.
considering not that long ago there was video of that guy getting swallowed by the humpback whale, bro.
I didn't go in the water.
Oh, well, still.
I was on a
the
much bigger
the
boat
guy
for
was
that
in a
one.
kayak, and he saw the kayak, breached right underneath the guy on the kayak and swallowed him. Like
yeah,
it's,
in
like
Chile, I think that was. I
yeah.
did see that.
But the whale's throat is so small, like the human, he can't fit down it, right? So it didn't matter. So, but still, that's like to give you nightmares the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
But that's nuts. Instead of taking a vacation to Hawaii, you could have just played Crew Motorfest set in Hawaii and just enjoyed it there, right? Be like, told you. But yeah, At
No,
least,
it was a gorgeous place with awesome people, and everyone was so friendly. I had so many conversations, like Americans willing to chat, compared to Germans. So that was kind of funny speaking to so many strangers. I did love Hawaii, and you know, but I struggled in the sunlight, man. I'm like a vampire. My
yeah.
girlfriend's got like a proper, healthy looking tan. I just burned to a crisp, and then went back
Probably
to
got skin cancer now.
yeah, probably. I burnt to a crisp and then went straight back to Edward Scissorhands white, pale, ghostly,
Ghost.
translucent skin. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it was an awesome trip.
Uh,
Awesome trip, man.
Paul Vitas says, with all the trouble Warner Brothers is having with making their own games and Xbox's new multi-plat strategy, what would your dream Warner Brothers property be with an existing Microsoft studio? For example, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game made by the Coalition. Ooh.
Well, that's a good question.
That is okay. So what would we want from Warner Brothers?
I would honestly you've got to look at the Coalition already worked on the Matrix for that demo.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you played it, but it
No.
was pretty fucking sick.
So you want
I played it.
you want a Matrix game made by Coalition?
Yeah,
I would like
dude,
that too. That'd be amazing.
That demo, like, it was laggy as hell, and clearly like a proof of concept kind of thing, but it was absolutely, I hadn't seen anything like it. And I was kind of thinking, like, what would this look like as a full game? With these kind of visuals and this kind of stuff. So that immediately pops into my head. But there's probably some other really good ones. I think I really want to see the Constantine IP become a thing, because there is a rumor that they're doing a sequel to Constantine 1, right?
They are. Keanu Reeves has talked about it, yeah.
Yeah. So what would if Blade lands really well, maybe like Arcane could do like a Constantine game.
Maybe. I'm trying to think of like a DC character. Batman's with Rocksteady, and I don't think any Xbox studio would do that bad. It's like, okay, what about Superman? Justice League? And it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I like the Matrix one with the Coalition. I think that works well. And I'm trying to think of individual studios and what they specialize in.
Clicks Bridge in chat said Pacific Rim and the Coalition.
Everybody chooses the Coalition, huh? What about like Machine Games? Like Machine Games could do, I don't know, like
Machine Games could do Constantine.
What about Bethesda? Okay, I got one. Bethesda and Game of Thrones. A Game of Thrones game set in an open world of Song of Ice and Fire, made by Bethesda though, where you play as...
I don't know, man. Kind of like I don't know if it's just my narrow kind of thinking, but in my head, a Game of Thrones game is more like a cinematic, linear kind of thing.
Yeah. I was just trying to throw something out there that maybe could work. I know they got Harry Potter as well, but who could do?
Do they
Harry
own the
Potter?
Sandman IP? No.
No, yeah, I think they do because Sandman's part of DC. But yeah, the Matrix one with Coalition was a good shout. I like that one.
It's got to be the Matrix, man. I mean, it's so weird they only made 3 of those.
Yeah, not including Resurrections, huh?
What?
What?
What are you talking about?
Yeah. CJ says, welcome back, Jez. Hope you had a great holiday. That being said, could we begin a petition to change Xbox 2 to Xbox 3 and have Nick on every week? Or at least every time Jez has a super busy week? Love you guys. Have a great weekend. Well, thank you.
I mean,
Nick is going to like that. Anytime there's any positive feedback for Nick, he just gets so excited. I'm sure he loved the fact that he was the only guest and we did a show for 5 hours,
That was a ball ache to edit, by the way. Thanks for that.
What do you mean? What happened? How was the headache to...
It's just because it's so fucking long.
I mean, yeah,
and it was like... I had to upload that on hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It took all day.
Yeah.
That's why it was late getting out.
And Jez got complaints about us talking about TV shows for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But hey, it's a podcast. We talk about whatever we want. That we just happen to talk about TV. And with Nick, he's a tendency to ramble sometimes, like I do. Jez kind of keeps it, but that, I mean, you can ramble too. Sometimes you ramble.
I never ramble.
You ramble.
Never. I would never ramble, bro.
We have Pandaman saying, "Hey guys, Rand's feedback on playing Avowed directly helped me with how I approach Avowed. Oh, interesting. I typically follow missions in games. I started to do this with Avowed, but I wasn't enjoying it as much. When I switched to Rand's method to completing whole areas of the map as I play the game improved. I think that's what I like about their open worlds is that it's smaller. Do you think with news of a Starfield update that Starfield will finally do something similar?" I don't know. I mean, that is the one thing that I think Starfield was missing that Avowed does really well was the exploration. But I'm just not sure it's possible to do that with Starfield's like procedurally generated planets and stuff. Because there's really no reason to explore the planets. Ever. So is it something they could, I mean, maybe if they somehow made it viable to do that, maybe that could change anything. I don't know. What do you think about that, Jez?
Sorry, repeat that.
That Pandaman sort of wants, like, yeah, with the Starfield update, he kind of like would like it to be kind of like Avowed. It's like, do you think with the news of the Starfield update that Starfield will finally do something similar? I
just installed Avowed. Like, I was gonna play Avowed on my Legion Go, but it was just crashing for some reason. So I'm gonna give it a go, but I suppose, like, if you just mean denser kind of exploration or more opportunities for discovering things, I think that's my only issue with Starfield personally. Like, how are you gonna give me a spaceship and then just have so few interesting things to discover? Like, there were flickers of brilliance there. Like, when I was playing Starfield, like, I remember flying in space and I got a signal, and it was like some distress beacon from a ship, and then I flew onto the ship, and it was like a cult had all committed suicide on this ship, and there was like notes to discover about what had happened to them, and it kind of reminded me of when I was playing Skyrim, and I was like off on some corner of the map, and then it was like there was like a massacre in this house, and then you start like exploring the house, and it's like the dude talking about how the Falmer dug up through his basement and basically killed his whole family. You know, it's like, fuck me, that's grim. And it's like, it was cool to discover that. And occasionally Starfield did deliver that, but it just wasn't frequent enough, man.
okay.
I think, like, if they can inject more of that into the game, I think it would address people's feedback and concerns that Bethesda doesn't get that anymore. And maybe bring the score of the game up on Steam and stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll see. I think Bethesda's kind of got their hands full. I think that's part of the issue with modern Bethesda is, like, they've kind of spread themselves too thin, because Bethesda is this sort of auteur culture where Todd Howard it's Todd Howard's touch on everything that people cite as, you know, Todd's influence on those games, which bring them up to that level or whatever. But now he's like doing the TV show with Fallout. There's also like the Elder Scrolls 6 that's been in development for 1,000,000 years. You know, how much attention and time is there left at Bethesda at a high level to get Starfield up to snuff? You know, I'd be surprised if there is enough attention to go around, you know? I mean, the fact that we don't have a Fallout 5, even a hint of a Fallout 5, is insane to me, you know? And that's pretty symptomatic of the fact that they've spread themselves thin, I suppose. But, yeah.
We have Geth Stint saying, Jez Corden, the man with the million vacations. Welcome back, Jez.
Thank you so much.
Good old Colin says, happy weekend, Rand and Jez. With Forza Horizon 5, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle and Doom: The Dark Age is coming to PlayStation. Should Microsoft gaming games from now on be Play Anywhere? That is, if you buy it on PlayStation, you can also play it on Xbox and PC. I mean, they should be, but Sony would never allow that.
Yeah, Sony wouldn't allow that. That's the issue there, I suppose.
Because like the thing is, if you bought it on Xbox and you get it for free on PlayStation, that's not gonna fly.
yeah, they want you to buy it on their system. You know?
I think they don't even allow Xbox compatible saves. Like right now, because I think they explicitly mentioned it. Like your Forza Horizon 5 save doesn't work on PlayStation. So like you couldn't, like, if you owned it on PC and Xbox and then bought it on PlayStation 5, like you couldn't bring your save over and continue on. So
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure they mentioned that yeah, like if you're buying on
That's weird because Minecraft Dungeons does let you bring your save across.
but that might be like something specific to Minecraft.
Minecraft too big to say no to.
Potentially, I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong with what I just said, but I recall reading that somewhere recently where it was like,
No,
yeah.
it might be. It sounds like something.
And
Sony
I don't know.
would
I don't
do.
know how does Sea of Thieves work. I think you have to sign into your Microsoft account to play Sea of Thieves on PlayStation, but does that bring over your save? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it does. Sea of Thieves. I don't know. Maybe someone in chat knows. But yeah, I don't know.
See if anybody.
But
Anybody in chat knows.
Sony definitely wouldn't allow people to bring over their Xbox purchases at least.
Yeah, Sony wouldn't let that happen. BT Maverick says, "Did they read my free member chat yet?" Yes, we did. About the can't face, we had Jez read it. He didn't sound it like about like, you know, what you would want it to sound like. But Jaeger says, for Grounded, you upload your save and then download it on the platform. So
yeah,
that's
exactly.
for Grounded. So, well, I mean, we'll see. Like, let me go to Forza's page and find out. Let's see, Forza Horizon. Forza Horizon. I think they posted a frequently asked question thing. Let's see. Where is the frequently asked questions? I don't know. I can't find it. I'm scrolling through their things and I can't find it.
Have you imagined it, bro?
Did you think I imagined it?
Because I think that's Microsoft's whole MO is that you can log in with your account and get your shit. And it'd be weird if they blocked that for Microsoft when they're allowing it for Valorant and other companies and Genshin Impact, you know?
Yeah, I mean, potentially you might be right.
That'd be fucking weird. Because you can play on Genshin Impact, you can play your mobile, PlayStation, Xbox account all on the same account.
Hold on, let me Google it. Forza Horizon 5. Forza Horizon 5 PS5 FAQ.
Rand, have you ever played Crazy Taxi?
Yes, I have. Okay.
Because apparently the new Warcraft patch is like Crazy Taxi. I got a green arrow and I've got to drive around doing weird shit in a taxi.
Okay, so PlayStation Network fact. Do I need a Microsoft account to play Forza Horizon 4? Yes, in addition to PSN account, need to link a Microsoft account in order to play it. How do I link it? Blah, 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 blah. Require PlayStation Plus membership. If I'm already playing Forza Horizon 5 on either Xbox or PC, will my progress from these other platforms cross over to PlayStation 5? No. Forza Horizon 5 for PlayStation 5 will not carry over save files from versions of the game released on other platforms. This is also the same behavior between the Xbox and Steam versions of the game, where game files are separate and not synchronized. You can publish UGC on one platform and download it to play on another. However, you won't be able to edit it unless you're playing on the save profile it was originally created on. Some online statistics, such as your leaderboard scores, are synchronized if you log into the game using the same Microsoft account.
My guess is that that's more a game design systemic issue than a PlayStation policy issue.
Okay. But yeah, so I was right because I recalled reading it somewhere. So, all right. So
Well,
let's.
congrats.
Yeah.
Have some flowers.
Omen says, "Welcome back, Jez. I recently tried to play Evil West with a friend before it leaves Game Pass, and we had the sad realization that co-op is just completely broken on the PC version. Reviews on the store corroborate this as well, so we had to play the Xbox versions. Apparently, the Steam versions, of course, work fine. So my question is Microsoft doing anything to reprimand developers that just leave their games in a broken state on the Microsoft Store? Shouldn't they just pull those games from the store? Is the future handheld really going to be using these broken versions in the Microsoft Store instead of the Xbox versions?" Ah, very interesting question.
Yeah, elephant in the room. I think someone in chat was just saying that. Someone in chat too was just saying that Avowed on PC Game Pass is not as good as Avowed on Steam, which is hilarious, right? Because it's Microsoft's own developer. Like, I had an issue with Pillars of Eternity where it was just broken on PC Game Pass and the same bug wasn't present on the Steam version of the game. I think they've fixed it now after I bitched about it so much, but yeah, it's a huge issue. It's a huge fucking issue. I couldn't even get Fallout 4 to launch. The PC Game Pass version of Fallout 4 wouldn't launch for me for some reason, but the Steam version worked just fine. That is a huge issue that Microsoft's gonna have to look at if it wants to be serious in that space. Because it's like, why would they ever use the PC Game Pass version if it's fucking broken? And then you just sort of encouraging me to just not even consider your ecosystem if the quality's being delivered in a better place elsewhere, you know? But I don't know how you solve that because the developers just sort of fix it themselves on Steam because they know it'll hurt their reviews and the reviews will hurt the sales. But like, I think PC Game Pass audience is so small that they don't give a damn. So it's a chicken and egg situation, right? Where it's like the quality isn't there, so the users aren't there, but the users aren't there, so the quality.
Even
ain't
think
there.
about it like this. Think about it like this. Because as someone who does the console, play on the console, if I get the next Xbox console, right, and if everything is going to be PC dev orientated, like you've kind of said, like Win32 stuff, whatever. And let's imagine this scenario. Let's imagine Evil West is broken on the Windows Store. Then it probably means it's also broken on the console because they'd be the same version.
I suppose that's when you start ending up in a scenario where they would be more likely to fix it.
I suppose
Xbox curates that experience more aggressively than their PC counterpart, right?
Because it's like, okay, so we're not going to fix the Windows Store version, which, like you said, who uses the Windows Store really, even though there are people that use it.
But everyone's going to be using the Windows Store next gen.
But if they really change it like we think they're going to change it, where the console is just a PC and it just runs PC games and they emulate like back compat or whatever, then any of the games that end up broken or aren't up to part of the Steam versions, well, that's going to be like a major problem for Xbox. So it's like,
I suppose that sort of also ties into this idea, like, how are they going to do game validation? Because Xbox right now, they have to do a pretty rigorous, pass a load of rigorous checks in order to even ship on Xbox. Whereas Steam doesn't really have that regime where they're like making sure developers ship things that aren't buggy. They rely on the audience to basically reprimand developers with the Steam reviews if a game is bad. They don't really police developers releasing a bad game. Whereas like Xbox does, from what I've heard, is actually the most aggressive in pursuing developers from making sure their games are released in a relatively polished state on Xbox. But yeah, these are all questions that I suppose we'll find out the answer to as we get close to the launch of the actual consoles.
Yes. We got Super Chat Gamer by Choice with the 2. This is why you do not go in the water. See? There you go, Jez. Learn that lesson in Hawaii. And Lenny with the 5 says, I would want Starfield to let you buy other people's ships. That'd be cool if you could buy like someone's like cool design of a ship or something. Because there are some
Oh, that would be
really
really
interesting
cool.
ones, and then use them in your own game.
That could be like a really cool asynchronous multiplayer thing where you don't have to like, build a full co-op system, but
Yeah.
kind of like how in Dragon's Dogma you can use other players' party members. I think that'd be cool as hell.
Yeah, but I think with that, we've come to the end. Jez is tired, his first week back from vacation.
Sure,
Uh,
I'm tired, bro.
yeah, hopefully I can play more Split Fiction. If not, I'll be playing some Assassin's Creed Shadows to see how that game is. And yeah, just want to thank everybody for hanging out with us on this beautiful Friday night. We appreciate you. If you're listening to this later on YouTube or Spotify or iTunes, hope you enjoy the show as well. Leave a like, or write a review, subscribe to the channel. Thank you to all the patrons who keep on supporting us month in, month out. You're amazing. And thank you for 4XP Gaming for sponsoring this episode. So you can go to
Thank you, guys.
4xpgaming.com to get your...
Pat Rock said we missed his Patreon
Oh,
question.
did he just upload it? Let me see. Let me get the question here. Oh yeah. Okay, he added it 27 minutes ago. Mr. Pat Rock says, Rand, could you walk us through on how your thought process when you were an achievement hunter? If it was a game you actually wanted to play, would you just play through, or would you always look at the achievements first? Since a lot of them are spoilery, and how also do you go about getting 1,000 thousands a day for the games you care to do so with? I mean,
That's
yeah,
a good question.
always look at the achievement list first. I mean, hell, that's something I do right now. I always look at the achievements first. Absolutely.
Even the spoiler ones?
I don't. What spoilers? There hardly any ever spoilers and achievements. Like seeing that stuff. Hardly ever.
No, but it'd be like defeat the last boss or something, and then you find out who the last boss is, man. Of course, the spoilers and achievements. What are you talking
There
about?
barely any spoilers and achievements, bro. Barely.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that there haven't been, but not enough to the point where I need to keep it secret or what have you.
I know. Like Xbox does that thing where it's like this is a secret achievement and it's hidden from the player until you unlock it, but that's not true on like true achievements and shit.
Well, no, I mean they've even added it on Xbox where you can reveal what the achievement is if you want to see what it is. So yeah,
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So when I was doing all that stuff, I would look at the achievement list, and if there are any guides available, I would make sure I maybe like watch some of the guides so I know what I was doing, print out pages of a guide so I could like use the page as I was going through the game. And that's how I would play stuff. If a game had a collectibles, I'd make sure I'd have a guide with me. I'd be watching for the like Maka. That's how he got started on his being a collectible stuff. So if I'm playing Call of Duty, I'd have a guide up being like, okay, here are the collectibles, and they usually do them in chronological order. So then I would, okay, where's this collectible? Okay, I see where it is. Pause the video, play it. Like, oh, we're in the area. Oh, let me grab the collectible. Start the video again. Be like, okay, here's the next one. Pause the video. Be like, oh, now I recognize this area because that's where the next collectible is. That type of stuff. And how I go about getting today, I mean, it's the same thing. Nothing's really changed. It's just that I don't play a lot of the games that I used to. But, I mean, the same things would apply. I, look at the list before I play a game, and then sometimes, you look at like an achievement guide or whatever, or what you need to do, and you like look at it and, kind of keep in your mind like these are some of the things you have to do. But yeah, I mean, nothing's really changed about how I approach it from how I used to in the past. I just don't play a lot of the games as I used to, like, the super easy ones, and there are so many super easy ones now. It's like ridiculous. I mean, they've completely ruined the system. Not that it, was like perfect by any stretch, but it's like a disaster now. But yeah, I'm gonna get my 1,000 in Split Fiction, but that requires like individual achievements in each chapter. So finding out what they are, and then like collectibles or stuff. So there's usually videos or written guides out for that. But anyways, thank you for the question. And
Thanks, Pat.
yeah, I guess we will see you next week or on Tuesday, hopefully for an Xbox 2 plus one, if not for an Ultimate. And then on Friday for another episode of Xbox 2. Until then, have a great weekend, and we love you guys. See you later. Keep it gaming.
Rock and roll, baby.